And I was shown that that Lucifer would return, that the UN and the Vatican were going to be completely behind it, again, under false pretenses. He's going to show up and say, I'm here to save the day, right? And, okay, fine, you know.
Yeah, of course,
ahead,
you can say whatever you want. But I've always hated censorship. It's the internet.
Sometimes, you know, once they get you for your first love bite, well, it depends on how aware you are, right?
I forgot my bullets. I never had a gun. Here I am left standing. Am I the only one? For what I see, memories have guilted me. I'll never see the sun.
First of all, as you know, the Anunnaki and the Draco are enemies. Second of all, underneath Baghdad was a stargate that was created by the Anunnaki so that they could transfer from Jupiter to the Earth.
I'll never see the sun. I could just end it all, but the demons will have won.
Practitioners that, you know, some are good and some use their magic for good and to heal and to help, and others do use it for evil. And, you know, in some cases, you know, people really were
This is too much sometimes.
From the broken ruins of Babylon, this is End of Days Radio. I'm Daniel, your host, broadcasting to you from the shimmering Emerald City, right here in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. Hello, how are you? Today's date is Friday, July 19th in the year of our Lord 2024. Today's guest is none other than Jamie Hanshaw. Jamie Hanshaw is a conspiracy theorist, researcher who covers topics such as FEMA camps, secret societies, witchcraft and cartoons, and alternative history. She's an author and is very active on social media. Also has her own show called Out of This World. And you can check that out. Very interesting. It's like we already got some people up in the chat. What's up, Chad? Someone who knows. Good to see you guys. Just wanted to remind everybody to head over to endofdaysradio.com, where you can check up on what's going on with End of Days Radio. You can donate to the show. You can see who's coming on. You can email me, grab my email, danielendofdaysradio@gmail.com. If you want to come on the show, or if you have somebody that you would like to recommend for the show. Man, it's hot today. It's the middle of July. I live in Washington. I am not used to this sweltering heat. And this room I'm in is not helping with things. It is just ridiculously sweltering in here. I'll try to bear with it. Yeah. I'm dying here. I would strip down, but I can't really do that. I wish I had AC in here. All right, never mind. Well, we're gonna move forward. It's weird. It's only been in the 90s here in Arkansas, so it's nicer than normal this time of year. Yeah, that's the thing. I came down with heat stroke the other day, and it was like 95 degrees. And then I talked to people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, here in Arizona it's 115," and I was working outside, and I was fine. I don't know. I think some people are just used to different temperatures. Like when you buy fish, and you put them in the tank, and you have to acclimate them, and you have to fill up a little baggie full of their water, and then put it in your water until they acclimate, right? So here, when the temperature shoots up we just die. People literally die. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and move on and get this show started. Welcoming our guest, Jamie Hanshaw. Hello, Jamie.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. It's good to meet you. I absolutely love your background. That is so cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's tropical. It's cool. It's a flamingo.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It kind of lights up the whole room and gives it kind of some ambient lighting effects. I love that.
Miami vibes.
Did you have that custom made?
No, you could just order those on Amazon.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
You'll have to check that out. That's very cool. Oh yeah, we are going to bring on Clint. I'm kind of changing things up a little. I'm gonna start, making the show a little bit more interactive. So we're gonna be doing like a revolving guest thing. Not always, but here and there, we're gonna be bringing on a guest host, and the first one is actually Clint Eastwood. He will be taking up the first spot. So thank you, Clint, for joining us.
Thank you. Look over
In your cloud of smoke there. So Jamie,
I feel like I'm with the pirates. You both have Jolly Rogers.
Yes.
Right.
We are big pirate fans. We often get accused of being a part of Skull and Bones. Clint just disappeared.
I'm sorry.
So Jamie, just kind of starting off at the beginning, how did you where are you from originally?
Where am I from? A very hot place called Hemet, California. So, yeah, I grew up in Central and Southern California, and it can get, like you said, very hot up into the past 110. I think the first time I took Jay there to where I'm from, he got pretty sick in the heat. And then we were just in Las Vegas a couple weeks ago, and it was in the 120s, 110s there too. So he's been suffering from the heat like you. But I'm good. I'm from California. I'm used to it. I can take dusty heat. I can take wet heat. I can take any kind of heat. I just don't like cold. So I'm one of those fishies that needs the heater on.
I see. Where are you located nowadays, if you don't mind sharing?
We go back and forth between Florida and Tennessee.
Tennessee?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's some place that I've been wanting to visit lately. Are you close to Nashville?
Yeah, like between Nashville and Memphis. So yeah, it's a nice place. Tennessee is very wholesome, very southern. Everyone is pretty that I've met very normal and nice. Yeah.
I've been wanting to go there to check out the music. I've been seeing videos of people, just hanging out downtown, and they're just walking in the middle of the street, and just about every bar you pass by, there's live music going on there.
Yeah, there's the one little square of Nashville, like I think it's called Broadway, and like right there by the river. So there's a couple blocks that's just booming like at all times with live music and cowboy boots and hats and like the whole like country music scene down there. But Nashville itself is a really neat town too, so it's a nice place.
Are you into country at all?
I do like country music. I grew up in the 90s when like they were trying to really hard to push crossover country, like Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. I love what's his name, Garth Brooks. I know a lot of country music, yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Don't rock the jukebox.
That's Alan Jackson. Yep. I want to hear George Jones. Yeah, I like it.
Jay Vegas says Freeman Fly. Do you know Freeman Fly?
Yeah, we worked together, and we were together for a while, maybe like 7 or 8 years. So, yeah, I know him.
Oh, okay. You were helping him with a show or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
we were doing that show in Austin, on like public access before anybody else had a podcast. Like before iTunes was even a thing, really. 2008, you had to go to like the access studio of your city and get a license to learn how to use the equipment. This was even before YouTube, actually. So it's been a
I'm
while.
surprised you needed a license for that.
Well, I mean, you have to take a class to learn how to operate the cameras because they all have little, functions and like which button puts on your face and what angle. And so you just had to like take a producer's class, basically.
Oh yeah, I remember before they had programs like StreamYard. When I'm using, you used to have to use Skype and stuff like that. It was so hard, and you'd have a bad connection. Sometimes you had to know how to use the software and stuff like that. It's just so much easier nowadays.
Yeah.
Even like remote podcasting, that's something I've wanted to try out, like just going around and using your phone or something like that and just streaming directly.
It
Mhm.
really heats up your phone hardcore if you stream from your phone.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure that will improve as well. Jamie, when did you first realize that something was strange going on with the world out there?
I was raised to be like that. So, my upbringing was kind of strange. Introduced to a lot of conspiracy concepts and occult concepts and truths about like entertainment and children's media. So, pretty early, but like, any youngster, I was into like R.L. Stein. So I've always been drawn to, the horror or the occult or, whatever you want to call it. Like I would read,
Oh,
I was a
Goosebumps.
little old for Goosebumps, but like before that, he had like, they're called like Fear Street and other like teen horror romance novels. And then other authors like Christopher Pike. Which if you go back and read them now, they're like pretty deep for kids. I was like, wow, these vampire books are pretty like have a lot of ancient alien concepts and stuff. But so yeah, paranormal books brought me into this milieu, I guess you could say, and also just like being homeschooled and being able to study whatever I wanted and just like follow what interested me instead of a certain curriculum.
Okay, yeah, I remember R.L. Stein. Like, I was into the Goosebumps books. My favorite one was the Killer Sponge or the Evil Sponge.
Yeah. Those shows look funny. Oh, maybe you will remember Are You Afraid of the Dark? You remember that on Nickelodeon?
I do.
That was one of my favorite.
Nickelodeon was so awesome back then. Nick at Night. They're always throwing slime on people.
Yeah.
In modern days, it's pretty bizarre to see that. What was that documentary? It's like, ugh. But that, I think his name was Schneider or something.
Yeah, I mentioned that in one of my books actually because Nickelodeons were often used as like peep shows.
Yeah, they used tons of the producer wanted all these young girls to show their feet and have like stuff. On their feet and stuff,
Yeah.
and
So like if you're on the boardwalk in the old timey times and you put your nickel in the thing and it shows you a little reel and it's like a naked dancing lady or feet or a cartoon or whatever. So that's kind of how that started. And then it's interesting now what's coming out and they're famous for sliming children with some kind of like goo, and the imagery was always very it looked like sperm or something.
Weird.
Yeah.
Man, these people always have to go after kids.
Oh yeah. In the documentary, the guy the producer made one of his employees. He made a bet with them that they couldn't eat all this ice cream, and then they did, and then he wouldn't pay him for the bet. And the guy was like a total psychopath, like a power hungry. You could tell that type of person how they want to play games with people and manipulate them and stuff.
That's weird. So, Jamie, what made you decide to do your own show?
So we were doing that show in Austin with Freeman Fly, and then just like trying all sorts of things. I guess when you start to realize, like, put major pieces of the puzzle together, let's say like Federal Reserve and, practical things like that, like, the taxation is theft and this is against the law and how could they be doing this, and Freemasons are running a lot of these programs and like what's going on there. And so you just kind of want to get the word out. You don't really have a plan. You just want to contact as many people as you can. It's kind of like that movie They Live. He's like trying to get people to put the glasses on. You guys are both wearing your sunglasses. I should go get some. All I have is like steampunk weird glasses.
Oh, we love steampunk.
Cooper says
okay. Let me go get him then.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, right. She's getting the glasses. Steampunk
Cooper
glasses.
says the symbol of They Live was that the aliens were the secret societies, and that multiple movies are like that, where because the secret societies consider themselves alien to us, and that they we're not the same. Like even in the what is it, like they all consider us useless eaters, or it's hard to explain, but it's that's why I'm always trying to read about that French Revolution.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah, that. So these are the glasses.
One of us.
Yeah, you're trying to put on people, and they're like, I don't want to wear steampunk glasses with spikes on them that are like faceted, because then I'll see the world in a different way. And you're like, but you have to. And they're like, no. So you try to start figuring out ways to present the information that's like palatable, and it makes sense, and it doesn't make you seem like a weirdo, even though you are, now that you've like put these glasses on. So, access television is just a natural in the way that it came about for him. He's the one that, actually went through the process of getting the license and everything. But someone just handed him a check and said, you talk so much and you know so much, just go get a TV show. And he's like, I can do that. And they're like, yeah. So he did that. And then after he had done that for a while, that's when I kind of met him, and I was like part of, the team now. And so we did a lot of traveling and just trying to wake people up, really. It was a very grassroots, organic. Like, we didn't have a lot of money. We had, could share a hamburger between us sometimes as a treat. Like, so.
You used to be at work, basically.
Well, it was a submersion into a very interesting lifestyle. You just really don't know, like, what's going to happen this day to the next, or where you're going to get how to pay rent or whatever. But you keep on talking, and somehow this generates energy, and people either donate or they buy your merchandise, and so you try to make other products for people to support you. But you want to do that in an artistic way. You don't want to just like churn out stupid stuff. So I tried to write these books that were engaging and colorful and informative, but also entertaining and easily understood. So the demographic I was going for would be like, young adult, the same age that I was when I started getting into R.L. Stine and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm rambling. Does that answer your question?
Well, one of your books, I believe, is called Hollywood something. I had it written down.
But, so they're called Weird Stuff, Operation Culture Creation. And the first two are called Operation Culture Creation, and then the third one is called Hollywood Mind Control.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've always wanted to like write a book. Don't have a whole lot of time, but How was that process, like getting it published and everything? Was it difficult, or did you run into any pitfalls?
I never set out to write a book. Like, I'd never written anything more than a college term paper. But I just had a lot to say. And like I said before, this was before YouTube was even really a popular thing. So we didn't have a lot of money, and writing is a poor person's art form because it doesn't require a lot of tools. Like, if you want to be a painter, you need paint and brushes and canvases and time. But a writer can just, turn their thoughts into something for very little money. So we published on Amazon, Kindle publishing. It was pretty easy. We made up all of the pages and the pictures, in a program, and then you just transfer it to the Amazon. So it was an okay experience. I'm going to try and write another book, actually, about the live talk that I give when we travel. I give a talk called The All-Seeing AI, and I'm going to try and turn those notes into a book real quick before what I'm writing about comes true, because maybe then we can not have it be that way.
AI is certainly a scary topic. Have you tried playing around with Grok or any of these other ones?
No, I don't mess with it, and except to make that picture that I used for the cover of the book and for my talk, because it was a collage. I can't remember the software, what it's called, but no, I've used it to make one picture. Jay uses it now. He's having fun making thumbnails for his YouTube. AI generated images come out pretty entertaining and funny sometimes. But no, I haven't talked to it. I don't want to mess with it. I just I want to revert back into the old times as much as possible. Steampunk time.
Do you feel there's something evil about it?
I think it can be, yeah, and that's part of what I'm positing in my book. I think it can be a tool for good or evil, but I think that... So going back throughout history, you find a lot of stories contacting the other side, and they give you technology to help them manifest easily, more easily in this world. So you're talking about like ancient aliens, and we just did a show on YouTube about this. Me and Isaac Weishaupt did one called 50 Shades of Grays. So you need some elements. You're going to be trying to talk to beings from another dimension, and you're going to be using ritual magic, and that also involves sex magic. And it just gets pretty deep. So these are all of the topics that are going to be in the book, and how we are bringing about, the invasion, if you want to call it that, the alien invasion or the demonic invasion, through the internet and through using sexual energy and corn and things like this to manifest demons into this reality.
Yeah, that's something that I've definitely thought about. I mean, when you really sit there and think about it, you realize that it's not that different than playing with an Ouija board.
Right.
You're getting different answers that are preset, but who knows what's actually on the other end of there. You were talking a little bit about magic.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever studied magic or looked into it much?
Oh yeah. So part of that era, when we were doing the TV show and the other radio shows, I was studying magic very heavily, reading about Kabbalah, Hermeticism. I mean, we did a lot of traveling, so I visited so many Freemasonic temples around the world, and around the country. We went to, Rosicrucian temples. We sat in on Osho sing-alongs. We just pretty much did the whole smorgasbord of the tour of religions, including yoga, everything. So I just learned a little bit of everything. Also with the knowledge, the conspiratorial knowledge, so there's also like the dark side that not a lot of people get to. I was fortunate enough to be learning these side by side, but mind control, so espionage, government programs and mind control, and then getting even darker into, like things like ritual abuse, satanic ritual abuse, and how these magical orders fit into the puzzle of tyranny, mind control, ritual abuse, bloodlines, any tangent you want to go down, I probably have been down it. So yeah,
the bloodline thing is definitely an interesting one. Did you find out anything that was shocking or mind blowing? I mean, I've heard things like our presidents and our potential presidents, candidates, are all related to each other, and there seems to be some evidence backing that up, which I find extremely weird. Do you have any thoughts on the whole concept of bloodlines and things like that?
So the go-to references for these is called Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier, and Tex Mars also has some good info on that, and David Icke's Children of the Matrix and The Biggest Secret go into that. So yeah, the bloodline thing, that was actually brought to the news a while ago, like maybe 10 years ago, by a 13-year-old girl or something. She did these genealogies of presidents, and she figured out that every presidential candidate that had the most blood ties to the royal family of England was going to win the election.
Yeah, that is so weird.
Are you familiar with the British Israelism and how it relates to the Illuminati?
Yes, and there's a great documentary about that called, I just watched it, it's not The Lion King. Oh, man.
You talking about the Ring of Power one?
Ring of Power. Yes. Are you talking about that or no?
Well, I remember talking with you about that like a couple months ago or something. And
yeah, so Hebrew, Israelite, these types of stuff pops up, like you said, in the royal family, where they go to the Stone of Scone, they call it, and which is supposedly the stone that Jacob put his head on in the Bible. And yeah, so what was I going to say? Oh, also this runs through the Freemasons when they take on the characteristics of the different characters of the Bible in the different rites up to the 33rd. You're going to be playing a lot of Bible characters. If you go to the Masonic Memorial in Alexandria, Virginia, George Washington's Masonic Memorial, there's an entire floor, because it's a multi-level building, dedicated to like the Ark of the Covenant, the way that Solomon's Temple looked like. The paintings on the walls are ancient Hebrew. Yeah, so
trestle boards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Did you have any trouble accessing these sites?
Not really. Like most of the things you can take a tour of because nobody knows what they're looking at, or they're not even interested. I mean, when's the last time your school took you to, George Washington Masonic Memorial? It's a trip to go see it, but
we're familiar with the symbol.
What?
You're familiar with the symbology, I'm sure. The dome and the reflecting pool and the the obelisk, Isis, Osiris, and Horus and whatnot.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. Yeah.
What's your? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's a lot of Egyptian symbolism in there for sure.
Oh yeah.
What's your overall thoughts on Masonry? Is it evil or benign?
Well, I was just thinking about this because obviously there's something going on inside Freemasonry of today. I mean, there's the whole classic story of the Bavarian Illuminati infiltrating the Masonic lodges in 1776. But, well, first of all, my worldview is Orthodox Christian, which is at odds with Freemasonry because they believe in more of a Gnostic version of God than we do. So they believe that God is the architect of the universe, but has kind of like set a clockwork machine into motion, and we can't really know God. It's way out there. We just can just know about the mechanics of the machine that he set. But like for us, for Christians, God is an interactive thing. He has a relationship with us. We have a familiar relationship like father and child. We can know things about his character by learning about the natural world, things like that. So to be a Mason, you can be any religion. And so that is kind of at odds with Orthodoxy. So there's my number one problem with that. The number two is that I know enough about the appendant bodies that have sprung off and the weird stuff that they get up to know that this is a tree that is not bearing a very good fruit. However, when I think about the cathedrals that were built like in the Middle Ages, you know, after the fall of Rome and like in the Renaissance and up to industrial age, like all of these beautiful, resonant, mathematically perfect works of art, like how can that be all bad because they were built to, you know, for worship? So I'm kind of having like,
to clarify it for you, all the cathedrals prior to 1307 were built by the original Templars, and that it held the symbolism of the gnosis of the initiate into the temple. And it, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with the movable and immovable objects and stuff in masonry, but it's like after 1307 the temples didn't have the same gnosis, and like so they were spitting out, you know, I always use the comparison of like a machine in a factory that presses a mold, you know, but when the mold becomes distorted, the product is distorted, and so the gnosis of a good person is lost. And like, because there is a there's a huge thing with the Templars where I think I went over this with you before about how their spitting on the cross was a symbol of the Fool card in tarot, where it was the uninitiated was. So then after they were initiated, they were no longer spitting on the cross. You see, like it's a really big misconception. But then the Catholic Church took over the Templars, you know, afterwards, and I'm sure you know the rest of the story. But I wanted to ask you about you remember that Pinocchio, the original one, the guy that made Pinocchio? What's his name?
Geppetto?
Geppetto?
Yeah, Geppetto. You know what he's the symbol of?
What?
He's the symbol of he's the symbol of the dark side's god, basically. He's crafting a false person.
He's a demiurge, you mean?
Oh, weird. I never heard that. That's weird. Makes sense.
Yeah, and it's that story, because you're an expert on Disney stuff. There's so many weird stories like that where
I love when they call Joe Biden Joe Petto, like Geppetto. That's my favorite nickname for him. That and creepy Uncle Joe.
What does his son call him? PEDOP or something like that? That's what
really
Hunter calls him. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Weird.
Hunter. There's another one right there. Looks like we have a question. It was kind of a advanced question, but Chad from the chat. Let's see. Speaking of Clint talking about the dome, what do you think about the ascension of George Washington into heaven in D.C.? It seems like the founding fathers were more Freemason than Christian. I never heard of that. Have you heard of that, Jamie?
Yeah, it's called the Apotheosis of Washington. So if you go into the capital of our great country, the District of Columbia, which happens to be a goddess, actually, and you go into the rotunda and you look up, there's George Washington, and he is shirtless, and he's sitting like enthroned in the clouds like Zeus or something, with all of the founding fathers around him, and you're like, this kind of doesn't fit with like colonial Puritan art or culture, right? And this is because Washington, D.C. was built by, well, they were Christian and they were Freemason, but they were Protestants. So to understand this, you kind of have to like understand the history of the church, which, you know, was the Orthodox Church, and then the Romans broke off that and became the Roman Catholic Church, and then the bulk of the Catholic Church remained, you know, there in the East, but then the Protestants came from Roman Catholics, so it's just moving farther and farther away from what the church was originally. So what the founding fathers were, you know, Protestants who had split off of, you know, Church of England, Protestant, blah, blah, you know, made these different branches. And so they were getting into like mystical territory, and like with the Freemasonic influence and with the influence of the Enlightenment era of France. And so this is kind of what's all going on in their heads at that time. And they do have ties to like the Bavarian Illuminati. But so this is the idea of George Washington, you know, becoming God, and it's a Luciferian idea that, you know, like we can become our own gods. So yeah, that's what's going on in the Rotunda in Washington, D.C. And I'm going to do a show on Rockfin very soon, all about the architecture of D.C. and that all of the signs of the astrological symbolism in DC is pointing to Virgo. So that's going to be very interesting.
I'd like to mention the the letter between Washington and G.W. Snyder pertaining to John Robison's book Proofs of a Conspiracy, where G.W. Snyder asked Washington about the book, and Washington said that he hadn't frequented the lodge in 30 years and that he knew it was being taken over by Illuminists and Jacobins. I feel like if Washington knew about the what's it called, the even I'm lost on what the name of it is, the apotheosis thing. She's right about the man becoming God thing. The Illuminists they want man to
yeah, I'm
God,
really
but
like surprised hearing that Zeus is part of that, because you know there's a lot of let me put it this way, Zeus is its own massive rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. Well, like, so Thomas Paine was an ex-Illuminati, but like Thomas Jefferson was definitely Illuminati, and that's where the huge thing is at, where there's a huge anomaly which neither Cooper nor Ralph Epperson nor anybody else I know has ever talked about, which is that Thomas Jefferson believed in Illuminism and the whole man becoming God crap, but at the same time he made his own Bible, and the Bible only consisted of Jesus quotes. And so there's a real paradox with that, where I don't think Weishaupt knew that I don't think Thomas Jefferson knew the founding fathers or the Adam Weishaupt was, you know, the inner goals of the order. I don't think he knew that it was to destroy all religions, because they wanted to create individual religion. Yeah, it's got the tetragrammaton in the center too, doesn't it?
He's doing as above, so below in here. Let me zoom in on Washington there. Yeah. See that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a symbol of the fire and the water.
He's doing the Baphomet thing.
Yeah, so that's an alchemical symbol, and yeah, Baphomet is an alchemical icon.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's go to Logan. He's just dying to get in there. Go ahead, Logan, aka Queen of Blades.
How's it going? Yes, I refer to myself online as the Queen of Blades in many circles and whatnot. My main specialties, I don't mean this as a plug-in, but just so you kind of know what I research on. I've been spending the past 33 years in the nature of reality bending, energy manipulation, and also bending the fabric of existence by using the parts of the mind of biochemicals. Hi, nice to meet you. Sorry I missed you guys. My question is, does our guest have a Twitter account? And if I kind of heard a few things that piqued my interest. Could you, if you have the time, could you help me figure out a few things about myself astrologically and some other stuff? Because there's a lot of information about me that's been hidden. I've been given fake memories or false memories, excuse me, and I'm just trying to figure out what I am and what's my purpose and how can I help, basically. Because right now it feels like I'm living the same day for 33 years. So my question is, would you be okay if we could make contact after this podcast? That was my main question all along. But other than that, I gotta say, this has to be one of the best. Hold on, excuse me. One of the best shows Daniel has ever done. So I just want to say thank you for everyone involved.
Okay, my Twitter is just my name, Jamie L. Hanshaw, JamielHanshaw, and my show is on YouTube called Out of This World, so feel free to make a comment there on Twitter. And I don't know if I can help you astrologically. I think that I've been down enough avenues in my life that the only one that worked for me when I was at a very low point and questioning, why am I here, or, all of these existential crises was Christ and the church. So that would be my best advice. Astrologically, I don't know your sign. I'm a Cancer.
Logan's from another reality in the multiverse. Somehow he got trapped here, and we're trying to help him find his way back to his.
He's out of space and time.
Yeah, we want to help him get home.
I've encountered a few people.
Oh, sorry.
What's that, Geo? You've been away for a while. You want to get in there?
Yeah, no. I mean, I've encountered a couple people that are very much like Logan, and that they've basically been saying this. It's like seeing this. It's like the same spirit coming through different people. They're essentially saying the same stuff through different faces. It's bizarre. And I've also noticed recently there's a bunch of people coming out of the woodwork that either I haven't talked to in years, or the people that are completely not interested in this sort of side of things. And they're apparently experiencing floods of past life memories, almost like they're becoming repositories for like a coalescing of souls within them. And I have a feeling this may have to do something with the Judgment Day coming up. I mean, Christ is coming. I have no doubt there.
What do you think of that, Jamie? The idea that there could be some Mandela effect type of stuff going on. I'm sure you've looked into that before.
I don't know. I don't think I believe in time travel, other than how the church views it. That well, they do, have a theory that all things are happening at once, but there is also linear time. The Mandela effect is so weird to me, because I definitely have instances where I'm like, I could swear it was this and it's not that. So, man, that's a timey-wimey Doctor Who question. What do you think?
I think that it's I think that there's got to be like something going on. I don't think it's human though. Like if there's advanced beings or aliens, they might be going back in time. Like I would say the two major ones that stand out for me are the unicorns in the Bible thing, because I have family members that are like super into unicorns, and if there was unicorns in the Bible, I would have found out about it before, much more recently. And then the other one would have to be the Berenstain Bears versus Berenstain Bears. I know they were the Berenstain Bears. Absolutely.
I found an old book report from like 3rd grade, and it was about Berenstain Bears or whatever, and it was spelled the way that it's saying the modern time stuff.
That was changed too.
One thing, let me bring this up too. If there is some sort of time manipulation technology, it will likely be tachyon based, as tachyons are particles that travel backwards through time.
Well, I think people could time travel in their dreams. But I wanted to say before I forget, I don't believe in the zodiac, because I believe that it is in biblical terms, the mark of the beast. Zodion means beast in Greek or whatever. Or is it Latin or Greek? But, like because it makes so much more sense when you think about it, and the whole, it's hard to explain, but like the best way I can explain is I go up to people who are atheists, and like big, or I believe in a God and stuff. I don't adhere to any particular religion, but like I walk up to atheists and I ask them, "Do you believe in God?" And they'll say, "No." And then I ask them, "Do you believe in the zodiac?" Or no, wait, sorry, I butchered that. I ask them, "Do you believe in God?" They'll say no. I ask them, "Do you believe in religion?" They'll say no. Then I'll ask them, "Do you believe in the zodiac?" And they'll say yes. And then I ask them, "Did you know the zodiac is a religion?" And that's when they get, because the mystery schools, they work in a way where they teach humans, people, these lessons through things that are so subtle and everyday. And think about how casual the zodiac has become, but yet it's like in the old Aramaic, in the Gnostic, or not Gnostic, the what's that word? I can't remember the name of the word, but like this Aramaic Christianity version, that they believe the 12 zodiacs were jinns or genies, fire spirits.
Zoroastrianism?
No, that's definitely not it. I think it's Coptic, but this idea of fire spirits is very, it's so weird how, like, in the biblical research, I can relate the Abaddon to Moloch and Malak of Islam, and even all the way up to like Ghostbusters 1, the Marshmallow Man, where Abaddon was, no, seriously, like Abaddon was the land destroyer, Leviathan was the water destroyer, and the name of the lady in Ghostbusters 1 inside of the top of the building, I think her name was Zool, or Gozer.
Gozer the Destroyer.
Well, think about this. Gozer in the old dictionaries is another word for Osiris. And it was a female version of Osiris, the female goddess of Babylon that dies for 3 days in the underworld, and it's like that is the Antichrist, according to the same as Christian mythos.
Yeah, there's real stuff in Ghostbusters, like that whole ectoplasm thing. That ectoplasm is a real substance that people were, even like way back in the day of black and white photos, they were trying to capture ectoplasm on film.
Oh yeah.
That's like the Nickelodeon slime too. Could be ectoplasm.
Hey, that's a good point. There might be something going on there. Absolutely.
I had a psychedelic. I'm retired from psychedelics, but back in like 2008, me and two other friends, we tripped really hard in this room. In the walls started like, there was like some kind of substance that was like coming off the walls, like drips. It was really weird. It was. That's kind of a ghost story.
Psychedelics can do that.
Yeah, there's probably substances that could be like between dimensions or in another dimension. Jamie, what do you feel is the biggest currently? What do you feel is the biggest problem with the truth conspiracy community?
That's
biggest
a good question.
Problem. Oh man. It's just gone to a really weird place, like since I said we started not even knowing what would happen and how things would snowball. But I did not have the rampant, like, men hating women gender wars on my bingo card for this movement. Also, the red pill has gotten really weird. Red pill used to mean something way different, 10 years ago. And so just the worst thing is, like, the clowns get out in front somehow. And it gets a little frustrating when you make content for so long and you'll never be as popular as someone who said hawk tuah or the N-word. Right? So it's just kind of like, what is the point? And you can't take it seriously anymore. So this is like, you just have to keep trudging along doing what you've been doing, because it's literally clown world now. I mean, even I don't want to say any names, but like mainstream alt media people, it's just the topics that they choose and the people that they platform. It's just like, what are you thinking? You have to be some kind of like, are you retarded or are you controlled by puppeteers? Because it makes
really.
no sense.
This comes down to that whole thing to where the devil is the god of this world or this age, and these people are attached to worldly things, or basically the world itself, the media, all this political crap going on, so on and so forth. And that's not long for this world.
James Tovar says that you look like Wonder Woman.
Ooh, nice. Gal Gadot, yeah, she's pretty. I like her.
Any chance you might dress up like Wonder Woman next Halloween?
Maybe. Gotta keep
Right.
watching this show. I'll have to get a Wonder Woman costume.
Feel free to stop by this show on Halloween.
Okay.
Here's another one. So, well, first off, before I get to this, I totally relate to what you're saying. It's been a slow grind for me. Like, I've been doing this like probably close to 15 years, and by now I would have hoped to have awakened the entire world. But it's just that people that are just doing the most base things, opening packages from Amazon, or just acting like fools. They're getting millions and millions of views. Meanwhile, things that really matter, things that are important, seem to get kind of algoed out, filtered out, and it can be really frustrating.
Superficiality and narcissism have taken over in a culture that is more focused on that than anything. Ever since the implementation of the TV, where people were constantly broadcast all these people that have these great things going on in life, you have all these kids growing up that want to be more than they are, so on and so forth, and it leads to a narcissistic obsession, essentially, in the culture, a sickness.
The rage farming has got out of control. I mean, just to get on and shit post, whatever stupid thought you have just to rile people up. I mean, that is a psychological problem. You just mentioned narcissism, and so that is on the narcissistic spectrum. Just saying things just to make people angry. That is psycho behavior clinically.
Well, that's the thing about you remember the concept of the Masonic concept of getting your goat. So the initiates without portfolio, aka the unthinking masses, they are going around getting everyone's goat. It's like they're making them mad on purpose, and the one book calls them communist agitators, because communism was a branch of Illuminism, and that the communists are taught to agitate, and that everybody forgets that Karl Marx was a Satanist, and that there's a really weird connection between all this certain stuff that you talk about with Disney and how people act and stuff, and how the Illuminati rhetoric, where they would destroy and secretly subvert all religions, and it's like we're watching all these religions. Like Cooper says, the Southern Baptist Church is Freemasonry, and that there's a huge the whole, like, the Scientology movement, and like I don't know, it's all so bizarre. It's like,
I think there's something kind of Luciferian about it too. The narcissism, like Lucifer is the ultimate narcissist, and it's very driven by the ego. Some people even say Lucifer is the ego, and you can imagine that he wants to copy everything that our creator has created, so he's kind of making us in his own image as well.
Oh yeah. Then the pride thing, they call a movement pride, use the symbol of a rainbow, which is the symbol of Lucifer.
It's also making a mockery of God's promise after the flood, sort of thing.
Well, then somehow all the whole pride movement's intertangled with this Marxist communist movement, and they're all one basically, and it's really spooky.
Well, one thing that I've noticed is pride always precedes a fall. I've experienced this more than enough in my life, and I've found that the best thing to do is replace pride with gratitude to that which gave you life, and be grateful for what you have. Pride really is not a beneficial tool for anybody.
There's also that term hubris, where if you become too prideful and egotistical, you just start getting into a lot of stuff that doesn't matter, doesn't help things. Jamie, on this topic, how do you feel about the way society has headed in terms of all this censorship? Some people might call it woke culture. This is kind of going back to what you're saying. Woke used to be a very positive word, but
Mhm.
now it seems to be like a bad word in the truth or conspiracy community. What do you think about how things are headed and where they're going and how it's been?
Yeah, interesting. So the whole fracture for me, from my vantage point, started around 2012. Do you remember Occupy Wall Street?
Oh, definitely.
And so people were becoming woke. Like when we used to say that, it meant, you know about the Federal Reserve, you know about like Ron Paul, you know about just basic like lobbying, corruption, Monsanto. Um, and so the Occupy Wall Street movement was really a big deal in that it got like everybody involved. I mean, I don't think camping out in the middle of the city is going to do much, but at least they were doing something. We were like, we were unified on, we agreed that this is like something that we can take on that would benefit everybody if it was dismantled. Okay. So then that's when you've got all of this, like the feminism ramping up. Then you had the gay rights, and then you had the trans rights, and then you had Black Lives Matter. And then you had just like, it just splintered into 1,000 different special interest groups. And it was kind of like over right before it began, because then it just turned into identity politics, and then COVID happened, and then everybody started, mutilating children, and like it just got so out of hand so fast.
Yeah, especially that mutilating children thing. That's always been very disturbing to me, especially the direction they're taking it in. I believe in California, they just passed a law that says that something to do with not notifying the parents if the child is um, eh, getting some transgender therapy, something like that. I have to look it up, but once again, just taking rights away from parents and encouraging children to potentially mutilate themselves, or take hormone pills and things that could uh, change them at a very core level. What do you think of that whole transgender thing? Is it justified in any case, or is it just kind of abominable?
Well, from my perspective, again, the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, and we're supposed to try and preserve it in its natural state as much as possible. I'm not saying tattoos and piercings are bad, but like extreme body modification is sort of changing the image of God into something else, right? And okay, for one, I do not trust the medical industry as a whole, big medicine. And so why would you voluntarily go to that place and have them get their meat hooks in you and make you some kind of lab rat, change your hormones, change your body parts? I mean, this has got to be something heavily, heavily demonic to convince people and even children that this is a good idea, right? So I do not think, I think we should be grateful for things that happen in God's providence. These types of things are what gender you are, where you're born, who your parents are, who your siblings are, things that make a big impact in our lives that we have no control over. We need to, just be grateful that God gave these to us to help us and as gifts and for our, journey of salvation. So we don't need to be taking nature into our own hands in this way, trying to play God or be in the place of God and change your gender. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I feel pretty much the same way. I don't think that all these kids that get into it are going to feel the same way. Like fast forward, I think when you're young, everything feels wrong, and you feel like you don't fit in, and you feel out of place. And a person might think like, "Oh, this is because I'm secretly the opposite gender," but I don't think that you can really change your gender. I think you can uh, make it appear so, but I don't know if you could ever really be that. And I think if you're trying to be something that you're not, like that's going to be worse for your self esteem and stuff like that, because you're you're never going to quite get there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and for the most part, I'm just like very let nature take its course. I mean, I'm very against all things synthetic. Like, I try to wear natural fibers. I don't use hair dye. I make my own lotion. Like, I don't want a lot of chemicals. I don't want a lot of plastics. I wouldn't want synthetic hormones or hormones I'm not supposed to have. I've learned, like, in my 20s, like, it's just better to stay as close as nature as possible. Like, don't take antidepressants, don't take hormonal birth control. All of these things are going to wreak havoc on you in the long run. I just want everyone to feel good. You know, I don't want you to be sick. I don't want you to have to go to the doctor. I don't want you to chop your dick off and like have a bloody hole for the rest of your life and then commit suicide because you've like really got some problems. Okay, you thought you had problems before. Try and get rid of your body parts that you need, and you're going to have like infinity more problems. So even just, but if I had no like opinion about morality whatsoever, I would still be like, please don't put things in your butt and don't chop your dick off. Like, just from a logical standpoint of like biology and organisms, like just don't do it.
Oh yeah. Well, there's the Russian castrating movement that was very similar, along with the ancient worshippers of Astarte, the Kadesh and Kadesha. But I wanted to say about the thing about parental rights, because technically I'm a parent, but I don't get to see my kid for the last 10 years. But like, so the group rights are taking away individual parental rights, and there's mountains of court cases in the Supreme Court and every state court where the state courts are operating under the color of law and violating parental rights, and that nobody's even talking about this because everybody's so, you know, they don't understand. It's all this group rights taking away individual rights, and that, you know, that's what the mentality of the mob. It's like the Illuminists create the mob, and the mob dictates the rule of law through democracy. Mm-hmm. And that the it's very scary to watch all this happen in real time over the years, you know, 'cause, like that thing you were saying about the words flipping. It's so true. Where like 15 years ago, light worker meant, you know, you knew about laws and, you know, universal principles of different religions, and, you know, you had brain power. But nowadays, light worker means some junky rave person that, you know, or some hipster at some festival that's
Coachella babe light worker
and stuff.
Yeah,
they're just fucking spreading a bunch of acid in the festivals and all wearing the flower of life while preaching they're all one and they're all God.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they're looking for the light.
I'm glad you brought up Astarte, because I just did a show for Rockfin yesterday called Goddess and Gala, and it was about an academic paper that I read called Gender Transgression in the Ancient World, and it had all of these commonalities between so worship of the goddess, the mother goddess, Isis, Inanna, Astarte. So they were focusing on three. They focused on Sybil of the Greco-Roman world, an Indian goddess, I can't remember her name, and Inanna Ishtar. So the cults that, you know, were devoted to the goddess, their number one thing was androgyny. And for the men, this meant castration, either like by actual doing it or just like an initiation where they went celibate or something. But so their number one thing was we are androgynous. And they would actually curse people. Okay, so they would live communally, homosexual lifestyles, castration, temple prostitution was another tenet of all of these goddess worshipping cults. Welfare, begging. So they were like professional beggars, like they would go out in groups and ask for money. And if you said no, they would lift up their skirt and show you their wound, and you were now cursed. So, yeah. they had all these ways of extracting donations from people. But it had a lot of parallels to what we're seeing now. Like, they were known for their pretty much their pride parades, where like if they were not satisfied with your donations, then you would be like, you know, forced to watch their debauchery. Also, self-harm played a big part in this, like cutting, biting, scratching, ecstatic states of, you know, transcendence where they can't feel pain. All of these crazy things that you see like on National Geographic of tribes people doing. So this is what groups who worship these goddesses all had in common, and central to this was like prostitution, OnlyFans, and castration, or, you know, gender swapping.
That is fascinating.
And the
that
Illuminati
makes you wonder.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
And the Illuminati and the Skull and Bones, they both tie a red ribbon around their pedunda, which means genitalia, and they're separating themselves in the initiation from their, you know, it all has. You remember the Crowley stuff? How, I don't know why everybody heroicizes Crowley, but you know, in his 14th or 15th degree or something, there was the homoerotic degree and all this other, and that the initiate was made to be a chick, or, you know, vice versa, and that it was all part of this brainwashing that they would do to the initiates, where I always bring up how it boils down to that scene in Conan where the snake guy tells the lady to jump off the cliff and she falls to her death, and then we've seen the same thing in Mad Max 2, the new one. I don't know, you guys seen that? But the guy,
yeah,
he orders the guy to jump to his death. He says, pick one, and he will show his allegiance. And that it's like, then I compare that to these people who are mass murderers in modern times, who, you know, will go and, you know, the school shooters and stuff, and how they're all, it's hard to explain, but they're all communists, and that the communist system goes back to Babylon and this goddess Astarte and the red, where, you know, like the red of Isis and the scarlet whore of Babylon. But these initiates without portfolio are dying for their religion, and that they believe in it, and it's really scary because they'll do anything for it. They'll let their own life be taken from them for the insanity.
There's also Bohemian Grove, where cross-dressing and putting on shows with a bunch of guys up there dancing dressed like women, and not allowing actual women onto the premises. It's got to be related in some way. I'm not going to pretend like I totally understand it. It's very esoteric, but definitely something going on there as well.
Well, the owl's a symbol of ISIS. And then the bull. Everybody says Alex Jones is wrong about him calling the owl Moloch, but the goddess was known to wear the mask of Baal, or like the mask of the bull, and that you know, I'd hate to bring up the True Blood show for the millionth time, but that scene where the lady who's an owl goddess then she's a bull face, and there's all the orgies and all the people are killing each other and shit, and it's like,
I like that show.
Well, you remember that scene though, right?
It was a while since I watched it, but I thought that was an amazing show with like a lot of revelatory stuff. Okay.
Jamie, who's your favorite True Blood character?
Probably got to be the blonde Skarsgård. I can't remember.
I think his name was Eric on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cool. I liked him. He's funny.
Yeah. I liked the cook.
Oh, Lafayette.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cool too. He's a cool guy.
I talk about that show a lot too. Like, I'm always like, this was in True Blood, because it kind of is a allegory to how things happen today. Like, the people came out and were like, well, we're vampires, but we want to live amongst you. And we have learned how to curb our appetite with this synthetic True Blood. And then everybody has to accept them and like make room for them in society. And now they are becoming integrated, where once they were feared, yeah, it just has a lot of parallels to what's happening today, and like all the groups that were against vampires were the the wacky Christians, the the hateful evangelicals were like, no, they're vampires, we can't trust them, but everyone else is like, oh, you're a bigot because you don't want to share society with these monsters.
Mine's very different.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That's that's something that you see with other cultures and the way that they're kind of in a way taking over. Yeah, I wish they would do like a spin-off or something like that of True Blood. It's so much fun. I think there's a lot of, me and Clint talk about this sometimes. There's a lot of truth in there, like with the fairy people and how there probably really were fairy people, and it's kind of like its own bloodline. And then the main character Suki has psychic abilities, and she can kind of hear people's thoughts. And in some circles, it's said that like Rh negative blood people or people that come from like Ireland and stuff like that, they might have like psychic powers or telekinetic powers and stuff like that.
I have Rh negative blood.
Oh, you do?
I'm an Anunnaki blood. Yeah.
Oh no, she's one of them.
Did you notice in the show how the symbol of the main vampire thing was a 9-pointed star, just like Baha'ism?
Oh yeah.
I thought that was really creepy.
So so you're Rh negative. Have you had any concern about like having a child and your body rejecting it?
Not really. Like, I've never been pregnant before, so I had a lot of problems like that in my younger days, so it's just never gotten to that point. But I have done a lot of reading about like what is different between Rh negative and what is positive. I guess like one is iron based and one is more copper based. Yeah, they don't do well.
Blue bloods.
Yeah, they're a very small group of people in the world. You can't take blood from a positive person. Like you said, you can't really have a baby unless you have an intervention, like a medical intervention. And yeah, they have mystical properties about them. I don't know what it is, but they seem to be more drawn to the woo-woo arts, as it were.
Yeah, I've known I've known some of them get gang stalked too. Like they're kept an eye on, an eye is kept on them, I should say, and sometimes they get stalked by weird drones and stuff like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, just buy a bunch of ninja weapons.
No, kind of moving on to something more current. Got to go here finally. Jamie, the attempted Trump assassination. What do you think of that?
The final season of America is pretty whack. I mean, what do I think of it? There are so many different theories. And it's funny how now the left is like, oh, it's a false flag. It was staged. I'm like, I thought that we didn't believe in conspiracy theories, but when it happens to on the right, then it's a false flag. So that's kind of funny. Man, if that was real, then that was a miracle, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we're in the good timeline, I guess. if that was real.
Cooper nails down how the Secret S and all these other acronym agencies are all 60-second trust United Nations, and so they're under, basically the rhetoric is that the sniper had the killer or the other sniper in his targets for like 3 to 10 minutes, and they say that the head of that Secret S wouldn't let him take the shot on the killer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that like Cooper talks about how JFK was marked by the United Nations basically, and that there's a weird thing where like I mean, in the JFK incident's different because JFK was connected to French Freemasonry, but what's really weird is how the it's just crazy how the modern mainstream media is just so hypocritical nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
The double speak and
now they're saying the guy that was on the water tower, the so-called second shooter. I mean, I've been semi-following this closely, but they're saying he's connected to the FBI and he got away on a zip line, like those things that go.
What? Well, I saw that the original shooter once was in a commercial for BlackRock.
Yes. Weirdness.
Yeah.
BlackRock, that's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're just going to have to wait for some more data to come out.
I think so, yeah.
Definitely did not make the women's Secret Service look very good. And I'm like, why are women trying to take a bullet for somebody in the first place?
It was funny when he popped back up. Like, they're all surrounding him. Then he's like,
yeah,
the light of fire.
I just want cheap gas.
Yeah, we all do, Clint. Jamie, how did you meet Jay Dyer? How did you meet him?
Oh, we met doing this. So I put on my Facebook, who would you like to hear me interview or us interview? And everyone put Jay Dyer, Jay Dyer, Jay Dyer. And I'm like, who's that? So I went to look up his profile and I found out that I had actually had bookmarked an article that he wrote before that about Hollywood and Babylon, because it was parallel to work I was doing on Hollywood mind control. So I'm like, okay, we'll have him on. And he was really funny and smart. And we just kind of hit it off and kept on doing shows and, just naturally got together after that. So.
Got you. You were attracted to him because he was like-minded?
Yeah. And he's real handsome too. So. And he's real smart, and he knew all of the stuff that I knew about. So it's like, compatible. You don't want to be with somebody that you got to teach them everything, right?
What was the first date? Did you guys go to like a Masonic temple or something like that?
No, we went to a restaurant. One of our first dates, we went to a place called Opry Mills in Nashville, and it's like a botanical garden connected to a really fancy hotel, and they have like waterfalls and lots of lush plants, like exotic species growing in there. So I recommend checking that out if you're in Tennessee.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to get down there. Have you met Alex Jones?
Yeah. First time I met him was in Atlanta during the Stop the Steal. And we went into the conference room and he was like, do you want some pizza? Do you want some wine?
Right.
Yeah, he was real welcoming. He's like, here, Miss Dyer, have some pizza. And he always made sure that I was welcome and I had food and drink. So yeah, he's a cool guy. We had lunch with him one time after we did a show in the studio at InfoWars. We had Chinese food, and he was real fun to hang out with.
Did he go on any rants?
Kinda. I mean, that's one thing about Alex is like you're gonna get Alex. Like there's no like cut unless he's drunk or something. He's just who he is, and like we love him for that. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for the Chinese food. It's got a lot of MSG usually.
Oh, okay. Well, this was a pretty fancy one in Austin, so none of those Chinese buffets.
Are you a religious person?
Yeah, I am. I was raised Baptist, and so we went to Christian school, and then I was homeschooled, and then I went through a phase where I was just like questioning everything because of the conspiracy stuff. And I saw that documentary called Zeitgeist, and I was like, well, if this is all made up, then maybe maybe there's aliens, and maybe it's just all love, man, and maybe it's just like a cosmic pizza. And so I was on a journey, and that's when I started learning about magic and all kinds of alchemy, hermetic, Kabbalah, just a big mystic soup, basically. I was pretty disillusioned with the church because I had tried to go to several different churches with like my, I don't know why I thought they would embrace this, but my conspiracy information about Disney. And I'm like, maybe you should stop. Like, if I got churches on board with like opposing Disney, we could do something about this enchantment of children, but they didn't get it. So for maybe about 10 years was just kind of like all over the place until I found, the Orthodox Church. I was at a very low point, and like nothing I knew was helping me, and that, helped me out of that. So pretty much accredit that to like whatever success that I have now.
Speaking of Disney, as many people know out there, Disney owns the rights to Star Wars now, and it's there's a lot of controversy with some of the so-called woke stuff that they're doing to the Star Wars franchise. Are you into Star Wars at all?
I like fantasy, so I'm on this nerdy spectrum. I like sci-fi and futuristic and fantasy. So like I enjoy Star Wars. I'm not a super weirdo about it, but like I'll watch it. Like I liked the what's that one with the little baby Yoda?
Oh, the Mandalorian.
Yeah. So, and I enjoy the old puppets of the old Star Wars, like the little Jim Henson puppets or whatever was in those things. But yeah, since they were bought by Disney, of course, they are going to be on this like woke agenda, which is being shoved down everyone's throat. And I think that they're kind of sick of it by now. Like, I think they can see that this isn't coming from a organic place of artistic expression. This is like coming from a weird psychological manipulation place.
But what about this whole, this might tie into Disney as well, but this whole sex trafficking thing, things like Pizzagate, is this a reality?
Some things about Pizzagate, yes, I think are real, and some things were a distraction. So when you learn the conspiracies, when you learn about secret societies, when you learn about bloodlines, like you go down all these different tangents, and you start connecting these threads. And one of these is that, yes, they do barbaric ancient practices. Like they're bringing these ideas and these rituals into the modern world. One of these is infanticide. So they've got it locked up with the abortion, but they also it's like the normal person can't conceive of why they do what they do because they're not evil. They're not in a satanic bloodline family. They don't think like that. So they think that these people do things for greed or for power or, for earthly temporal things, that motivations that they would have, but they don't understand that these dark entities, whatever you want to call them, demons, archons, are working through certain people, and they are much more diabolical than you could even, imagine.
Oh yeah. The whole thing about pan worship and stuff, and all the secret societies are always practicing in a grove, and that they're worshiping the earth, and that these worshipers of the earth believe that humankind is a disease on the earth, and that they are here to destroy us, basically.
Well, at the very kindest, they think that we're just an organism. So we're no different than an amoeba or a lizard or whatever. We're just all, God is all, and we're all God. And whatever happens or befalls one thing is just, back to the cosmic soup. Or whatever. And so there's no distinctions between personalities, which is not, in Christian theology and worldview, we all have distinct persons and personalities that will go on into eternity. We don't all go back into some like big stirring pot to be reborn again and again.
There seems to be something going on with the reincarnation. The elite sometimes wear little bracelets and necklaces of the Ouroboros. I hope I'm saying that right.
Ouroboros.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So and I've heard like some pretty out there stuff. This ventures into kind of like the David Icke territory, but they say that sometimes when a member of the elite reaches adolescence, they get possessed by some kind of demon or some kind of Anunnaki god or something like that.
Kennedy thought he was a walk-in, or not Kennedy, Lincoln. I mean, Lincoln thought he was a walk-in spirit. A bunch of them are. Oh yeah, that's why I never joined Masonry, because I was afraid of superstitious of some type of, because the temple is like a artificial house of a spirit, a female spirit that is in the Ark of the Covenant, quote unquote, in the Temple of Solomon, and that that whole Astarte worship, it's really weird because Moloch was May 1st, May Day for the communists is May 1st, that the worship of the ancient world of Babylon has lived throughout so many centuries. Like that's why William Cooper's Mystery Babylon series is so important in the continuations, because he documents these artificers of fire, and that they are, it's like the whole, you remember the alchemical symbol of the two pillars, water and fire? It's like the left hand path is fire, and that the philosophers of fire, and then the biblical religions are the philosophies of water, hence the baptism in water. In the mystery schools, they're baptized in fire.
Interesting stuff.
I didn't mean to hug the mic.
Oh, you're not. You're good. Jamie, do you ever feel that what you're doing, challenging the system, so to speak, do you ever feel that it could be dangerous?
Yeah, but that's something that I decided a long time ago when I was just kind of like, I'll just use my real name and face. I kind of put myself out there boldly, hoping that, angels would protect me if I had courage just to do it. So I'm not really scared. I've thought of like, what is the worst they could possibly do, and I've like accepted that fate. So, which is FEMA camp, which I always thought maybe that would happen to me anyways, because I grew up like in a religious place that believed in like the rapture and tribulations. So that was always in the back of my mind. I might have to live through like horrific times, even though the church doesn't believe in that specific order of events. I have accepted that maybe like I would be on a list of subversive people, or, domestic terrorists or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. I have to like just have courage, and this is not the end. I just pray I don't want to do anything to like, betray my faith or any people. So like I hope I will have courage in the moment that I need it,
Definitely. You said that you
camp will be fun. I don't know. Maybe I'll have friends there.
Yeah, we could all get together, play some Magic the Gathering. Now, you mentioned a second ago that you kind of grew up being taught that you would go through certain things. It does seem like we are going through things, especially with 2020, or you could even go back to 9/11. All these weird psyops and things like that. Do you feel that we are in the name of the show is End of Days Radio? Obviously, I have kind of an inclination, but do you feel that we are in Revelations or end times?
If not that, then definitely a contraction. So like in Revelation, they talk about the end times being like a birth. So if you think of it that way, you're going to have times of contraction and then like rest. And I think of these as like maybe years of little eras or something. So right now is a very intense time. And so maybe we'll get a little rest time and then another major contraction before the actual like birth happens. So but then the rest times in between contraction gets shorter and shorter. And I definitely think we're on that, trajectory of like, if this isn't the end times, it's adjacent, adjacent end of days.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Definitely, especially with the stuff happening in the Middle East. I know a lot of it's focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Looks like we have another question coming from the chat. This is kind of a different type of question, but Chad Warren asks, "What do people do when they get to heaven?"
You get to ask God a bunch of questions.
So what I've heard, like at the church, it's going to be a lot like, God will be everywhere, and we will all experience it in a different way. And we will be able to have like personalities, lives. I don't know, like that's a really good study. Like, what is the eschaton going to be like? I don't worry about it too much just because like there's enough to worry about here. But it does say we're going to be free of a lot of stress and pain, worry, doubt, like all of those things. But I think a lot of people fear that it's going to be boring. I don't think it'll be boring at all. I think there'll be multiple goods for us to choose from and enjoy all of the things that we enjoyed here.
You get to hang out with your dead homies.
That too. Yeah, you get to see people that you loved. Animals, I believe, will be there. It'd be like a new paradise, a new Garden of Eden, basically.
Oh yeah.
I always like the idea that our bodies are just kind of so we can undergo a learning process, and that when we die, maybe we just kind of morph like a butterfly or a caterpillar into a butterfly.
Well, did you want me to speak on that?
Sure. Have you ever had a spirit dream of a dead friend or anything?
Me, no. So that's where we differ from Gnostics. So Gnostics think that matter is a prison and that our bodies and our flesh are something that was not meant to contain us. That's not how we view it. We view a more homeopathic, but flesh and matter are good. Everything that is created by God is good. We did experience a fall and a corruption, but that is going to be corrected and reversed at the resurrection, where we will be resurrected. All the dead people will be resurrected in a perfect body, or however they were meant to be, before experiencing this fall. So how they explain it is that right now your body is like a house that you live in, but dying is like the family moving out so that you can renovate the house. Like you can tear it down and build up a whole new house, and the family can move back in. And there is an intermediate period, like after you died, but before you're resurrected, where you're just kind of resting at peace, and you're with God. And then after you're resurrected, that's when the judgment day is.
We have another question from the chat. This time from Maxwell Cole. A little bit more of an advanced question here. What if, I think he's talking about heaven, what if it doesn't exist? How does heaven fit within the origin of the universe from a scientific standpoint, especially with so many planets out there and the possibility of life outside of Earth?
Mm-hmm.
that's why I bring up the spirit dreams of dead people that I've used to know. It's like, what else do you say when you see a ghost in your dream and it's like they're telling you goodbye? You know what I mean? Like, and then it's not a fictional thing. It's like the Native Americans believed in the spirit dreams. I had a spirit dream once where a dude told me that I need to stop the Kabbalism. It's a weird dream.
Well, that kind of speaks to the idea that we go on after death and we're not recycled and reborn and obliterated and built back up from nothing. So if you're having contact with people and their spirits from the other side, then that would kind of say that we do go on, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's personal proof.
Yeah. But what if heaven doesn't exist? So what they teach is that heaven is going to be different based on if you love God or not. So like we're all going to the same concert, but if you hate the person singing, then you're going to be in hell. But if you love them, then you're going to be in paradise. So God is going to be present, and that's how they explain like the fire of God burns the people that hate it, but it's warmth to people that love God.
Interesting. Am I echoing?
Yeah, we're both echoing. I'm not sure why. I think there's this lag or something like that. It's unfortunate, but just have to kind of bear with it at the moment.
Is it echoing on your end too, or?
Yeah, we're echoing.
Jamie?
I don't know why. Jamie's not echoing.
Everything's good for me in my audio.
Okay.
Doing your show, have any guests stood out in terms of changing your perspective?
Changing my own perspective on my own show. I guess one of the most controversial guests I've had is Rachel Wilson. So she talks a lot about like feminism and how the occult roots of feminism have go hand in hand with communism, like Clint was talking about. So that opened my eyes a lot about, how they can use women to subvert culture.
Oh yeah. Nesta Webster, her book, she documents how Adam Weishaupt's close friend, fellow member of the Illuminati, was creating a woman's order where of two classes. One, sorry, I was chewing on a stick. Two classes. One was prostitutes that would get information, and then the other was intelligentsia women, and it was, like a two class system.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the prostitutes online, I mean, it's almost comical now. It's like logging on. It almost feels like, when you go to a friend's house and like their cat jumps up on your lap and sticks its butt right in your face. And you're like, no, kitty, get away. That's what happens when you get on the internet. You're like, click, click, get these butts out of my face. But that's all anyone wants to talk about or talk to. I mean, they just had Amber Rose at the Republican National Convention, right? She's currently has OnlyFans. And this prostitution plays a big part in what I was talking about before, the worship of the goddess and the destruction of the patriarchy. So the idea of like a holy prostitute or receiving a blessing, paying for a blessing from the goddess in the form of buying a prostitute, this is nothing new. The only thing anybody wants to talk about is, OnlyFans girls. Like, what are the top 3 podcasts in the world? Whatever. Fresh and Fit and like those guys, like all that they do is get, a panel of OnlyFans girls and dunk on them basically because they're not the smartest people, obviously. Like, I don't know. It's just it's interesting thing to watch. What do you guys think? I mean, it seems like that's the only way now to get some type of following is to be adjacent or even in that like
the
sphere.
blueprint of it. It seems like a majority of the secret societies worship the star Sirius,
Mhm.
and that in the biblical terms, it was warning against them. I always bring this up. It's in Revelations. It says, "For without are dogs, whoremongers, idolaters, and whoever loveth to maketh a lie."
Mhm.
And the dogs reference in the Bullinger's Companion Bible, he states in the Greek that it's referring to dogs of Ishtar or dogs of Astarte.
Mhm.
And so this brings it back to the Scarlet Horde, ISIS, where modern Illuminist Freemasonry, because I always refer to the older stuff as archaeological Freemasonry, which was destroyed in like 1400s, but they worship Isis, the Osiric cycle.
Mhm.
Isis, Osiris, and Horus. Oh, where'd Dan go? But looks like we're taking over the show. No.
Just me and you.
But like Cooper says, Isis was the symbol of the temple. Horus was the symbol of the initiate. And Osiris was the symbol of the doctrine. And that the Horus is the symbol of well, Osiris is symbolized by a monolith or a obelisk. And that's why I'm sitting here just going, what the fuck, when we see these metal monoliths popping up, again the last 3 months, and it's very spooky because that was Cooper. I bring it up a million every time, but like Cooper predicted monoliths popping up all over, and it's like that's ridiculous, but we see it's the symbol of their secret word, Jabelan, which is 3. It's like a triple pantheon deity.
Yeah, I can definitely. Oh man, it didn't work. I was hoping I could get rid of the echo.
Turn your mic a little bit up.
Turn it up. Let me try that. I think that it's disturbing how many young women are getting involved in this stuff. I feel like there's an attitude now like, oh, I could do this. There's no drawback. I'm just getting all this money thrown at me. This is great. But I don't think that they are thinking about the long-term consequences. Like somebody like Janet Jameson, I believe I'm saying her name right. She had come up with all kinds of things about how bad the adult film industry is and how much she regrets it, and she's spoken out about it quite a bit, and she's one of the most prominent people in that field. So I think that young ladies and men and all of them should really think about the long-term consequences. I think that you would feel very used if you were doing something like that for a long time.
The echo's fucking me up.
Me too. I want it to go away so bad.
Yeah, that should be pretty common knowledge that that type of abuse of your body is going to shorten your lifespan a lot. It's going to give you a lot of psychological problems. Most religions and magical orders teach some form of chastity, or at least retaining. They put boundaries around sex. I mean, for us, sex is it's not bad. It's a sacrament. It's a very beautiful thing. But it's just like a fire. Like you have to have it in a fireplace, or else it's gonna, be destructive. But even the Masons believe in, like, part of the inner lore is that your body is a temple, and that's why they wear the apron over their generative principle, their phallus, right? So like it's going back to the Holy of Holies, where there was a veil between the world and the Holy of Holies. So now there's the apron they wear in front of their private parts. So yeah, like if you study magic, pretty much all magic is about harnessing your sexual energy and directing it to accomplish things that you want in life.
Definitely, I definitely think that there's something there. Hey, the echo's gone. All right, I'm so happy about that. I do think there's something to that stuff. Like, you hear sexual energy called chi in the Eastern world, or like in Japan they call it ki. In India they call it kundalini, and a lot of the meditation is similar.
Those type of things have been perverted by the mystery schools on the dark side, where the kundalini is the serpent, and that all the Satanists always quote the line from the Adam and Eve, where they take the tree from the fruit, the knowledge, and that the mystery schools teach that it's the knowledge of knowing that you are God. Like Alice Bailey and the whole what's that actress Shirley MacLaine had that movie where she spins around on the beach. I am God. How could somebody say that and not feel like an idiot? But
yeah.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, Chad Warren in your chat, he has a good point about even in paganism they have rules about abstaining from sex to increase your chi. So yeah, why do you think that they would get the medical industry to sign off on Alfred Kinsey and all of these weird sexual weirdos that tell you, yeah, it's okay, like you should just jerk off as much as you want because like it's good for you and it like helps your prostate or whatever? It's like actually depleting you of all these minerals and giving you psychological problems at the same time.
Especially, I think with pornography, you'll hear people talk about how, oh, I started off looking at just normal porn, and then I had to like watch orgies, and then latex suits, and then pissing on people, and it gets more and more extreme. Like you have to chase that taboo. I think that there's something really corrupting about constantly being bombarded by imagery of that type. It's got to contain a lot of negative imagery. Or negative energy, I should say, and then you probably won't be able to have a normal intercourse relationship because it's not, people hanging off of chandeliers and stuff like that.
Well, think about how much energy is going back into the grid of the internet. Like if you think of the world in magical terms, like these things have transitive properties that if you touch the Nickelodeon slime and you touch a computer, like that's going to have a link to it, right? So think about all of the guys like just feeding into this beast, all of their energy and manifesting like the weirdest stuff. So we did shows on Rockfin about Aleister Crowley and the Hidden God, and he talks about manifesting UFOs and demons and like whatever you want to call them, entities from another dimension using these technologies, and computers and AI is going to be a big part of this.
Got another question from the chat from Adaptable. Appreciate your work, Jamie. Tracy Twyman spoke and wrote about Disney and her series, The Secret of Minnie Mouse or Minnie Mouse. I'm not sure if it's really spelled that way. Curious if you are familiar with any of her work, and if so, what do you think?
Yeah, we were doing shows with her back before she died, and that was a really tragic thing because what she was doing was, I believe, going on the Ouija board and trying to talk to Baphomet himself and bringing back information and putting this stuff in her books. So that is why I don't condone messing with these things. I don't want to contact any entities. I'm actually trying to have a boring life. I don't know. It's not going very well, but like I try to keep all the ghoulies out of my sphere. But yeah, poor Tracy Twyman, she contacted the other side and she paid a big price for that.
Yeah, I was following her and kind of saw, I don't know if you want to call it a descent take place. And it was really sad because she was going on a lot of programs Clyde Lewis. She was his producer, and she was big on the higher side chats. And we interviewed her on this show, and it was really sad, like losing somebody that was such a great guest and had so much esoteric insight and knowledge, and the fact that it seemed to happen because she was investigating this child trafficking, pedophilia stuff, the real dark stuff that related to Satanism. And she also talked about being harassed by some kind of demonic AI, which to me is pretty scary. The implications of that, going back to what you were talking about earlier, Jamie, with the idea that these AI might either be demonic or might become vessels for these intangible spirits that might hack into our computer systems the same way they might hack into the human brain or nervous system. Very, very, very disturbing.
Well, the Gnostic, not that we're Gnostic, but they do talk about, the archons think of some people as containers and just manipulating them as you would like a puppet, right? An NPC that you can go into and do things. I forgot where I was going with that.
In the book Transcendental Magic, I believe it is by Arthur Edward Waite, he lists black magic and defines it as magnetic fields and technology, basically.
Technology. Right. So fire is also a sign for any kind of technology, right? It was like the thing that Prometheus brought that separated man from beast, right? Is fire. That's the story of Jungle Book. So, but it can also be like a symbol of like just any technology that can be used to communicate with the other side. Like, did you know that the cathode ray tube that they used to make television with back in the day, that was created by magicians? They were trying to get in touch with spirits on the other side, and they were from the Golden Dawn. His name was Sir William Crookes. They called it a Crookes tube. And what they were trying to make it like a digital or, some kind of Etch-a-Sketch Ouija board that the spirits could talk to them. And that's how we got the technology for television.
Wow. Have you ever...
And the first image ever broadcast was the Maltese Cross, says one of your chatters. Exactly.
Have you ever thought about doing any ghost hunting?
I went with some ghost hunters one time. It was actually a really interesting experience. He had a whole book about what he thought ghost was. He thought it was like residual electromagnetic activity, not necessarily like your consciousness or your soul, but just like what happens like after your DNA disappears. Like it leaves some kind of imprint for a while before it fades away. So he had all of these theories about like, what a ghost was, and it was really interesting. But he took us to a old fort in Kansas, like in the middle of Kansas, like where like a Civil War fort, and we were looking for ghosts, and he had this digital Ouija board that he had, like it was just a red and green light button, and he'd be like, if you're here, then make it green. If you're here, if not, So I did go ghost hunting once. That was pretty interesting.
Well, if ghosts could interact with real time, then I would assume that they're not on some kind of loop or energy pattern.
It seems like the dimensions, some can operate outside space and time. Like this is the idea of like, what's that movie with Matthew McConaughey? Not Tesseract, Interstellar. And they do teach this about prayer, like you can pray for people in the past and the future because God is outside space and time, and he can alter things.
Have you ever seen a miracle?
Yeah. I mean, like you have to define miracle because like, so the first thing that popped into my mind that this had to be some kind of miracle. We were living on a school bus and we pulled over for gas, and we popped open the hood for some miraculous reason, just to look at the engine. I don't know why, but we saw like a part sitting on the top of the engine. We're like, where does this go? Like, this is not supposed to be there. And as soon as we're trying to figure out this part, somebody comes up behind us is like, hey, that is your such and such ball bearing thing. And it's broken and I know how to fix it. I just happen to have a shop. And if you come with me, I'll take you to the store and buy this part and we'll go to my shop and I'll fix your part and I'll put it back in and you'll be on your way. And we're like, whoa, dude, I didn't even know we had a problem. And then an angel came and fixed it. And it only took, like 4 hours. We would have been dead in the water if he hadn't showed up. So I would say that's pretty miraculous.
We are getting short on time, but Jamie, I did want to ask, are there any other truthers, authors, podcasters, influencers, social media influencers that you respect in the field, or people that you admire, or people that you'd recommend to others?
Sure. So we have a big group of friends. Let's see. My husband, Jay Dyer, is the best at what he does. He is on InfoWars, the 4th Hour, and he's on his own show pretty much every day. He's coming out with a new book, Esoteric Hollywood 3. Definitely check out his stuff. We love David Patrick Harry. We love Baselit Analyzer, Rachel Wilson. We like Courtney Turner. Who else? Richard Grove. We just have so many friends. Like, it's hard to list, all the people at InfoWars, Alex Jones, Clint. Who else? Isaac Weishaupt. We just did a live show with him. We're friends with Made by Jim Bob. Sorry if I missed you, but I think that's all of our friends.
Awesome. Well, we are approaching the end of our interview. Before we go, though, Clint, did you have anything left for Jamie?
Oh, Jamie Kennedy. Yeah, he's a good friend, too.
No, not really. Simply, I probably smoked too many joints, but
no worries.
You'll have to come on my YouTube sometime so we can say lots of profanities and.
Okay, do the whole Joe Rogan and just like smoke Mad Bowls while we talk about Freemasons.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I wanted to bring a bunch of stuff up, but I didn't want to like Mike hog or anything.
Look within says, ask Jay, what's funny? Inside joke, he'll get it. Laugh aloud.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll ask him.
What's funny, Jay? So that's pretty much everything. We are approaching 2 hours. Sorry about the echo, but thank you so much for sharing so much of your time with us, Jamie. I'd like to go ahead and just let you hop up on the soapbox, step behind the podium one more time. Say whatever you'd like to say to the End of Days radio audience out there. And please follow that up with anything and everything you'd like to plug, promote, any social media, emails, ways to contact you, or just anything at all that you'd like to talk about.
Okay. For me personally, I have a channel on Rockfin where I talk about all of the darkest stuff that you can't say on YouTube, and I don't necessarily want to be famous for knowing these things, but I feel like I have to get it out there somehow. So I have a secret channel on Rockfin for subscribers there, and we go into some crazy stuff. Like I said, we just recorded a show yesterday about cults of the goddess and gender transgression there. We talk about OTO, Theosophy. It's called Defense Against the Dark Arts. So if you are in Conspiracy 201 or 301, you go over there to Rockfin to my channel. That's where you get all the crazy great stuff. And then I do have my show on YouTube where I have all the guests are like my friends, and we talk about the most interesting stuff, conspiracy related, pop culture related, and we have a lot of fun there. And then I also do live streams on that channel, just me, where we talk more about like magic and psyops and culture creation, and the lives are really fun. And if you're missing those, then you're missing, most of my content. So please go check those out and try and make it to the chat. They're really fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. It's been a pleasure having you on. Definitely like to do this again in the future, catch up with you, do a part 2. But until then, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully no echo next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. And that was Jamie Hanshaw. Boy, she was delightful, to say the least.
Oh yeah, that was a good interview.
I think we were having some lag back and forth. I think the echo's gone now.
Maybe her the background noise blocker wasn't working or something.
I should have tried turning echo cancellation off for her, because it might have been like getting caught up in the system and lagging, or who really knows. But nonetheless, a great interview. She was not echoing, so we were able to hear everything that she had to say. And unfortunately, Dr. Robert was not able to make it this time. He had a last minute emergency he had to deal with. His ex needed him, so he's
Hopefully
not going to be doing his segment this time. Yeah, hopefully everything's okay there. But we'll probably do. We're not going to be able to do a break like usual, so we'll probably just kind of go a little shorter this time around. But
what main do you have any modern news stuff that you want to discuss? Or
oh, definitely, I got plenty here. So obviously the biggest news is the assassination of former President Donald Trump by the lone, perhaps not lone gunman, and the fallout from such events. Very disturbing. No attack on a standing official of this level has ever gone down in my lifetime. I think the last one was probably a couple years before I was born, but I've just never seen anything like this before. Shocking. Well, I thought it was fake at first.
I think that I think Discord needs to be subpoenaed by the Supreme Court for deleting the content of the only known public thing that the shooter was known to have, public media, because they claim that the shooter had a Discord account, and that all of a sudden Discord deleted it because it was in their best interest or something, and it was, I believe that could be construed to aiding and abetting and obstruction of justice by Discord itself.
I've seen some really weird stuff go down on Discord. Like, I was on a show for a little while called Kermit and Friends, and they were really wacko in their Discord, like doing things that they thought were funny that were just like way over the top. Like one guy that was in there, he was bragging about redirecting a plane flight. That's going way too far, and I did not last long in that community. But that's just one example. I don't feel that Discord is very well monitored, unless you're talking about this sort of stuff, which they just kick you off like right away. We had a Discord for this show for a little while, and there was a lot of members in there. I think we got around 200 something people, and then they just pulled the plug on it and we just lost it all, because we were talking about the you know what, not allowed to talk about it on here either, but you know what, and then some other things that were no conversations, and just lost that whole community that I was trying to get going. It sucked.
Oh yeah. I would bet money that they're gonna find some kind of manifesto of that shooter that'll, just like all the other ones, they'll always have like a communist manifesto for their. They'll claim that they were doing it for the quote greater good. They're all I was talking about how it's like a religion. It's like they'll do anything for their religion, aka belief system, and they even to the point where they'll give up their own lives, because I'm sure the criminal couldn't have planned to have escaped. They knew they were marching to their own death, I'm sure. on the last subject.
It looks like they've also given the shooter the three part name. You know how they always say the person's middle name
Oh yeah.
along with it. So they've given him that honor, if you want to call it an honor.
Yeah, I would speculate that the person was a MK Ultra victim.
I would
Possibly.
definitely agree on that.
Yeah, they're probably going to find the Madame Blavatsky's secret doctrine book in his library and
Or something.
Matthew Crooks. Thomas Matthew Crooks.
Yeah, they found that book. That was the first book that the guy that killed the Beatles guy, he ordered it in prison.
Catcher in the Rye, wasn't it?
Well, that's what the myth is, but it was actually Blavatsky's secret doctrine.
That's weird.
Same with the guy that tried to off Reagan. I'm pretty sure had the same book, as well as Hitler.
Did you see the cover of Time magazine where Trump's in front of the flag, and it looks like two of the Secret Service people have their hands kind of in the middle, and one looks like it's almost stuffed inside of Trump's jacket, like hidden hand symbology.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't trust any. It's like I trust. I always tell both sides. Like I don't care what your political views are. If we don't have gold and silver money that we can pay our bills with, then we don't have a constitutional republic. And so why should we partake in any of it? You know what I mean? Like that's why I don't take sides or the whole media. It's all just whatever happens. It's like they're sitting there trying to get us to follow the passion plays of the I mean, I'm assuming that the what happened is real and stuff, but like the other stuff is all just manipulation and the masses.
Yeah, I think that it's there's a good possibility that the entire thing is a psyop, but I don't really want to totally throw that accusation out there because ultimately I don't know. It could have been the deep state trying to kill him or something of that nature. How could we ever really know for sure?
One thing I can say for certain is since that event happened, people across the board seem to be losing their minds to some degree or another recently, acting completely out of character.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the Trump support is just turned up to 20. Like it went from an 8 to a 20.
And he's making promises of coming in and making peace in all these different wars and whatnot. When I was watching the speech last night, and if he actually does accomplish that, he's going to be beloved worldwide.
Oh, yeah, well, not by the internationalists though.
I mean, by the people.
Well, yeah.
This is
the internationalists want the wars.
A picture from my Twitter X, and I did a thread about Trump possibly being in the Illuminati. This is a piece of evidence I'd like to present where Trump is standing in front of a Masonic painting, and there's a Freemason in the painting who is doing the exact same hand gesture that Trump always does, with the little 666 symbol.
Well, just the fact that I brought this up before, where they both said in the debate that they, quote, made millions of jobs. The Communist Manifesto states the government will control the means of production, and that there's nowhere in the Constitution where they can create millions of jobs. They're operating outside of the constitutional law, and it's really sad that so many people are unaware of this.
Yeah, that's a definite issue, and I don't know if you guys can see this one, but it's. Let me make myself big. I had it on my phone. Oh man, I wish it was easier to see. See how that's like an envelope he's holding up, and it looks exactly like a Masonic apron. Looks like some more symbology stuff.
Yeah.
Here's him doing the Masonic handshake.
He also has a full-size golden replica of the Ark of the Covenant in Mar-a-Lago, I believe, as well as a giant picture of Apollo painting right above his fireplace.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like the before he got elected, he had a Facebook account that was sharing Knights Templar International posts.
Really?
That it's like Cooper says, how it's a war between the French and the English Freemasons, and that it's like connected with the, I don't remember which side is more heavily connected with the Vatican, but I would say actually the Spanish crown is more connected than, but either way though, it's this power struggle over three different main movements that are controlling everything with, their different representatives, and that, that's why I'm just so against everything, because it's like we're not going to have, it doesn't matter who gets elected, we're not going to have constitutional courts that aren't screwing everybody, and that it's like we're living in a system where everybody's getting screwed on a daily basis. People are put into jail for debtors' prisons, with child support. It's illegal technically. It's, you look up debtors' prison in the Cornell website, it'll say that it's a crime, and that the judges knowingly do that every day for millions and millions of parents, and that's not a huge issue in the mainstream like it should be, and it just blows my mind. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, to watch, if you go and watch, go sit at a court and watch.
Here's the picture I was talking about where, if you notice, it looks like two of the Secret Service people's hands, the female and the male, both have their hands tucked into Trump's coat, once again symbolizing the hidden hand. A very convenient imagery of the flag flying above Trump, as well as the fist in the air. Time magazine, definitely a well-known Illuminati publication.
Let me point out one other thing that stands out to me more than anything. It's a giant word up at the top that says "me."
Huh.
Behind that, and regardless of libertarian aspects and whatnot.
And oftentimes on Time magazine, the M will be positioned right above somebody's head, and it'll
make them look like they have horns.
Yeah, devil horns, exactly.
Yep. I saw a version of that with him.
Oh, yeah. The fist is a symbol of the communist movement. I'm not sure if he's doing the fist because of that or anything, but it's could be. I mean, you never know.
And then you have Trump's very strong connections to Zionism.
Oh yeah, the British Israelism. It's definitely
there. I have to send it to you guys. It's pretty much documentation and documentary. He's been involved personally with Israel in Middle East peace agreement talks since at least 1983. So there's some really deep ties there on top of the King Cyrus, the coin they made with him and King Cyrus on it last year, a couple months ago. I forget exactly how far back. I want to say 8 or 9 months ago. He was presented with the silver crown in Jerusalem for some event. And on top of that, they want to build a train station at the Temple Mountain named after him. That's comes directly from Tel Aviv.
Oh yeah, they're all internationalists.
Yeah.
Plus, you have so many pictures of Trump together with Epstein and the Clintons.
Oh yeah. William Cooper says the Illuminati is known for their debauchery, and that the Epstein thing, no doubt Epstein was an Illuminati member or a smaller subversive group.
But I'm not saying any of this stuff justifies a person being shot at. That's not okay.
Oh yeah, that's
whether they're in the
thou shalt not
Illuminati.
kill.
Yeah, if they're Freemason.
Well, thou shalt not murder. If you're killing in defense, that's allowed.
Yeah. Yeah, thou shalt not murder is part of the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Plus, the Illuminati is often at war with itself as well, because there's many branches and many organizations that form the main organization, and it's very common for these subdivisions to be all out at war with each other or hate each other, just like how many black activism groups are Illuminati, but also the KKK is Illuminati as well. Two opposing viewpoints. Also, the we talked about this before. Communism, and then they also have many democratic organizations. fall under the umbrella. Kind of like the some of those diagrams that you put up, Clint, from I think they're from Behold the Pale Horse.
Yeah. The idea that the Nazis and the communists were against each other was part of the Illuminati rhetoric, because socialism is what the Nazis were doing, and that the communism, Karl Marx is the father of socialism. So they're both socialists, and that that's why I'm always talking about the group rights thing, because the socialists want the group rights to take over individual rights. And the founding fathers, they weren't Illuminists because they wanted individual rights, not group rights. And that it's we're in dangerous times here, where it's like, if we don't have individual rights, then nobody's gonna have a freedom of religion. So that's why I'm always saying everybody needs to be pro-Constitution, because that's something in law that these people are under oath to, which they're bound to protect, and they're failing to do so, which is technically treason. And that the law is on our side, and they're not enforcing it. And this is a huge mockery to what this nation was founded upon, and that the idea that all these groups are creating rights that we can't exercise, that's in violation of the Equal Protections Clause, the 14th Amendment. And that the any right that a citizen has can only be a right if everyone can exercise it. And that's what, and we're seeing the taking away of the Second Amendment right now, where people aren't allowed to exercise their Second Amendment right. They're all being robbed in the hoods and stuff. They're all, and we're under this plan of the internationalists, a 3-step disarmament, total takeover, total inflation. To the big banksters are using the minimum wage to rob everybody systematically, like vampires. Bringing it back to True Blood.
They're using the minimum wage.
Yeah, because the minimum wage, when they
you don't think we should have a minimum wage?
Well, when they set it, it makes it so it doesn't increase with the rate of inflation. And so every time inflation goes, doubles, minimum wage only goes up once. Or, inflation will triple, meanwhile minimum wage will go up one time. And so it'll be in the long run, it's a lesser amount every time, more and more, less and less. It doesn't matter how much they raise it to, because they've inflated the currency at such a high rate that, I've calculated numbers where, in 1963, $1.15 was equivalent back 5-10 years ago to $40 an hour. So
I can see how it pushes inflation up more, because it's just obviously it's creating more money in circulation. Economics are complicated.
What's a way that they get cheap labor? Because they know, the big businesses all know that the inflation is happening, and they know the exact amount that it's happening. And that's how the banks calculate the interest rates on the loans, and that they're compensating the interest rate for how much they know inflation will move. And that,
well, it's because of when the what happened in 2020, they kept giving all this money out to people and bailing out all these companies, and they printed up so much money to do that. It just drove inflation through the roof, and then they had to counterbalance the inflation and to keep the housing market from crumbling. They had to raise the inflation rates. So now, I'm not inflation rates, interest rates. So now interest rates are at 7%, which means that if you buy a house, you'll basically never pay it off.
It's all a really fancy method in which they rob us. They just flat out rob us. It's it's straight up hustle. They are hustling harder than anybody's ever hustled on the planet, robbing everybody. And we're all sitting here totally blindsided. Nobody's even, because I was a math major basically, and that I can see in the money when I look at the numbers and calculate stuff. I can see how much we're being robbed just out of this
Clint was
paper
a
money.
math major. He also had a kid. All kinds of stuff I did not know about Clint.
Well,
what other bombs are you going to drop tonight?
Well, I almost solved the what the hell's the Navier-Stokes equation? It was $1 million equation, like 20 years ago, and I was planning to get a lifetime scholarship at a math school.
Oh, dang.
But my ex ripped up the half of the equation, and then when it did get solved,
what a biatch!
She didn't.
I don't mean no disrespect, but what the fuck, dude?
You can disrespect
was
all
she
you
mad?
want.
Was she mad? Obviously, she was mad. What did you do?
She was a psychopath. She'd talk demon voices in her sleep.
Oh,
but
speaking Akkadian in her sleep.
Oh yeah, she would say, I'd be sitting there like watching TV, smoking a joint, and she'd be like, "We are watching you." I'd be like, "We what?"
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit!
Interesting.
What kind of dark thing did I step into?
No, I've experienced stuff like that before. Like family members will be sleeping, all of a sudden I'll hear like another voice talking to them while they're sleeping, and I'm like, what the fuck's in there? And then I conclude that they must be like dreaming and then having a conversation with themselves or something like that. But that at least makes me feel better about it. But there probably was just some kind of demon
I had
in
an
the room.
incident with the sleep paralysis once where I was kind of in this other realm and there was these shadow creatures all around me and there was like these words like lightning I couldn't pronounce if I wanted to in this realm coming out of my mouth. And then my roommate literally shakes me and wakes me up because apparently I looked like I was distressed. It was like almost like they like were afraid of whatever I was doing and they had him pull me out.
That's trippy.
That was weird. I
want to bring up this comment real quick. Sandra Bullock said a while ago in the chat, Egypt in recent history is faked. I think there's something to that. I don't believe like Egypt in general is faked, but there's definitely a lot of cover up there, and some of that stuff there could be fake, for all I know. The Great Pyramid, however, is definitely real and it's very old.
Well, it's not that it's faked. It's like it's a different culture created all that stuff, and that that's where it's like that's why I don't buy onto the one stuff, because I know about this conspiracy where nobody knows who built the Great Pyramid. There's no hieroglyphs in it, and they're claiming all the hieroglyph stuff is the same builders. And I used to subcontract for like 15 years, and like you can tell it's not the same stonework, and that it's not the same techniques all around the whole world. Even with that big stone under Jerusalem and that temple at what is that, the Mount Olympus or whatever, there's numbers of even the Incas, the Japanese, the Chinese. There's these giant you've all seen the stonework, the massive stones with the nubs, and like they're perfectly carved to fit and stuff.
Look Within says, you dudes need to burn some sage. I burn sage before every show, oftentimes during the show and after the show. I have multiple packs of sage incense, so I'm always burning that stuff. I mean, obviously I've had some issues with entities and things like that, so it's sound advice and something that I definitely practice.
I'm burning a lot more than sage right now.
I think ancient sage used to be straight up salvia, because it was the sage family.
I miss salvia. That was interesting stuff. I enjoyed that.
Let's see that fire again, Gio. Let's see those flames. Our God, the flame.
There we are.
What is
Beavis, I am fire.
Remember that original Bohemian Grove video where I think it's Walter Cronkite, he's like screaming and goes, "Ah!"
Oh God, really?
Oh yeah. I forget what he's saying, but it's something to do with the cremation of care. And the idea is that they're burning away all their concerns or feelings or worry about what they're doing, so they can get to a mental state where they can rule without conscience.
Yeah, basically the whole idea of MK Ultra with completely pulverizing somebody with trauma until they're trauma proof, essentially.
Oh, that's what I was going to bring up earlier about the Archon rule. The initiate is traumatized, and then they are taught something, and it's stuck with them indelibly, meaning permanent. That's what the initiation passion plays are for, to teach them something that they don't know they're being taught. And then when it all adds up in the end, it equals this gnosis that's under a madness, basically. Whereas,
well, we have some new
I had that
bohemian
happen on
growth
an
for this.
organic level.
You seen the
I'm
new
gonna
video
play it.
of
Yeah, I'm gonna
Bohemian
play
Grove?
it in a second. Let me bring it up. All right. Hopefully, you guys will be able to see this. Let's make that big. You guys can see it, right?
Yep.
Turn the volume off so we don't get dinged for that. Looks very druidic.
Yeah, initiates of the flame, just like on Conan the Barbarian. They held the candles.
It's a Promethean thing, you know. This all goes back to burning a log a very long time ago, and someone taking credit for something that they shouldn't have taken credit for, which led to worship, and well, here we are.
It's the same thing on the Olympics where they light the torch with the magnifying
Yeah.
glass.
I wish they
Yeah,
get a
the
little
illuminating
closer
eye,
to the
quite
camera.
literally. Oh, don't fall in that hole. Okay, good. Getting dark in these woods.
That's why they're luminous. They're worshiping the light, quote unquote.
Oh, false light. There is true light too, but it's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about Luciferianism. There's people that will sell you on the idea that it's all about light and love and stuff like that, but it cannot be denied that Luciferianism has a definite and dramatic demonic element to it.
Yeah, it's all pride and it's all ego, basically. You know, people thinking they know what is right when it's their own understanding and not what's truly right.
That's why I'm done with that shit. Like, I'm completely done with black magic, Luciferianism, Satanism, any of that stuff. It's demonic, and it will do things
Any
to
type
you that
of
you're not aware of.
self-worship, by definition, is Satanism, because Satanism is self-worship. And even if you're like spending, remember the word worship also originates meaning pretty much that which you devote the most of your time to, more than anything.
Somebody sent me a email. I guess they just watched my 5-hour interview with EA Coetting, and they were getting into like demonic invocation and stuff like that, having some pretty crazy dreams and feeling these powerful archdemons slipping into their consciousness. And I kind of wanted to reply and just kind of say, hey, you might want to be careful with that stuff.
Yeah, you might want to talk to Logan about that one. I'm pretty sure something like that's going on there, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, at first it just feels like fun and games, like you're trying some acid or something, and you're having an amazing conscious experience and experiencing something supernatural, but you don't really know what you're letting in, and you might find it hard to close that door once it's been opened.
Yeah, I can attest to that with a lot of experience. For many
really?
years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It would be hard without like doing an entire show and me like having to collect my thoughts and go over like an inordinate amount of information first. But I've definitely in the past studied a lot of things that opened a lot of doorways, and those things pretty much got to the point where they were pestering me on a daily basis, to the point where it just was not pleasant to be awake or alive. And eventually I had my faith back in Christ, and they kind of made me bulletproof to all that since then.
That's kind of what happened to me. It was weird because I was being gang stalked online, and to this day I don't know what's supernatural and what's just bots or technology or
it's all intrinsic. It's all interlinked.
But when I just kind of let it go and said some prayers, it did stop. It stopped completely.
I highly recommend Psalm 35. That one comes in very handy with these sort of things, if it ever acts up again. Lately, things have been acting up again in terms of like demonic activity, at least in my perceptions and what I'm sensitive to in the realm and whatnot, ever since that whole event that happened a couple days ago. Prior to that, everything calmed down since the eclipse, more or less, at least in my world.
What happened a couple days ago?
Dong Dong got nunked in the noggin.
Yeah.
Oh,
the trick is to not have any feelings about what's going on in the mainstream, just so you don't get wrapped up in it. The whole getting your goat thing.
Oh, that's what I wanted to mention before. The whole goat thing. That whole the phrase "just goat" alone has become very popular in the past few years. Thinking like the greatest of all time, God of all Texas, stuff like that.
There's a new song on Eminem's new album where the main verse is something about Tobey Maguire was bit by a spider, but I was bit by a goat. That's the main
well, there's also
of
part of a biblical prophecy too that says in the end of days something about the sheep and the goats being separated.
Oh yeah. Well, plus on the Eminem album, he had an Antichrist song and a Lucifer song as well.
He calls himself Lucifer on that album, in that song, like at the end of it, and then the next song is Antichrist.
Eminem is the Antichrist.
I really do have a big problem with the way the term Lucifer is used, because it all goes back to a mixture of Milton and a poor interpretation of Isaiah 14. Because if you go into the New Testament, I think it's 1 Peter 19 or something, it refers to Christ in the Latin Vulgate as the Lucifer or the bright morning star, and it does the same in, I think, Revelation 22.
Yeah, but in the Latin, it was Greek before that, and
which was pospheros, I believe the term was, which translates into Latin Lucifer.
And you know, on that note, what's weird about the Eminem thing is he's also saying that Lucifer is the Antichrist.
Oh yeah.
See what I'm saying there? Like the term was hijacked by the powers that be, as far as I'm concerned.
Think of it this way: like Lucifer is a version of Christ or a name for Christ, but also it's like the Lucifer element has a demonic side to it. So it does kind of make sense that Lucifer would be Christ's polar opposite or reflection.
Well, or maybe Lucifer was his past self, and that's why he had to do what he did 2,000 years ago to absolve the karma for whatever caused that fall.
Well, from my understanding, Lucifer is the serpent or the dragon or the Satan. And the connection between the two, this whole dragon thing, where it's creepy. That's why the Old Testament, where ever since Mr. Mythos made that video about the word of the God in the Old Testament being a dragon, and then the New Testament's against the dragon, and it's like, well, that's very odd. You know, because that whole bottomless pit thing, the angel of the bottomless pit, that's in Islam, that's the first angel of their Allah, and that's
Abaddon.
Yeah, it's also Malak and Moloch and
Apollyon and Abaddon.
Yeah, Apollyon. That's Revelations. Even I forget the verse, but yeah, it says Apollyon is Abaddon,
and Apollyon is also Apollo.
Yeah, Apollo, the light,
the angel of the abyss.
Yeah, it's very creepy because it's the symbols are all in the mainstream movies and TV shows and stuff, and it's like, who's writing this stuff? You know, like.
Pardon me, I had to mute myself so I could fluctuate. If you see me muting myself, that's probably what it is.
Oh yeah.
If anybody's curious. But look at this comment here. Adaptable says, they say if you play the album in reverse order, it's Slim Shady unaliving Eminem. Starts with him spitting on the grave he dug. It's weird.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder if I would wonder if Eminem even writes. I know that he paid for certain lyrics on certain songs, but it's weird how the modern producers and stuff, they force the artist to write about concepts. You know, it's like, what if he was given the album and just told to write the lyrics around the names of the songs? You know what I mean? Like,
well, his early stuff, it sounds totally different. He's not talking about the devil, really, not much, and he's not calling himself Lucifer or anything like that. I feel like at some point he must. I don't feel like he was fake from the beginning, but at some point maybe, you know, there's that theory out there that the real one died and he got replaced by a body double, because Eminem already had like all these body doubles. Like, look at the real Slim Shady. Like, they're all Eminem versions, and there's a song of his where he basically says Eminem is just like a bottle of hair dye and some vodka or something like that. Like, he's kind of hinting, and he might just be playing on the rumors and stuff like that. But There does seem to be something very weird going on there.
In Kabbalism, I'm pretty sure M is the 13th letter, and that 13 plus 13 is 26, the number of the Tetragrammaton. But so he
Plus
goes that. Remember his first song?
M and M.
Master Mason.
Yeah, Master Mason, exactly. Or if you look at it backwards, it says me in me.
Oh yeah, that first song that he was popular in, "Hi, My Name Is." It's like in reverse. The chorus was "It's Eminem, it's Eminem," and like this whole "My Name Is," this idea of, I can't remember the Bible verse, but it's like they're saying that damn, I forget the wording of it, that I am who I am or something. It's like it's the same reason why Jay-Z calls himself Jehovah, like Jehovah, and that
really?
he's saying,
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's a play on words. Jay-Z is definitely an occultist or believes in the occult.
Sorry, the neighbor's dog is harassing me again.
Oh yeah, but
he's like
Jehovah,
right outside my window barking.
It's like along the lines with R. Kelly. It's like they've erased, because Jay-Z was half that album with R. Kelly, the Best of Both Worlds, and they totally deleted R. Kelly's name off the album. But it's like, how did Jay-Z record a whole album with R. Kelly and not realize that R. Kelly was some kind of messed up person, that was making women eat poop? And like, there's no doubt that he's in with the symbology of the hand sign, the Jehovah. He's calling himself God. He believes in the false gnosis. He believes he's a god. That's why he calls himself.
Wasn't he throwing out that Crowley line to do what thou wilt?
Yeah, he was pictured wearing a hoodie that had it on there. And then these Crowley initiates, just like I was bringing up, the nothing against gay people or anything, with the homoerotic degree of Crowley's secret order. They were practicing witchcraft sexually, like it was a sexual sex magic. They were performing sex acts in a ceremonial manner in which to, create an effect. And that
a long time ago, I told this story before, but a long time ago, we had that guy, I think his name is like Lon Milo Duquette or something like that. He writes a bunch of books and he's pretty high up in the OTO. And he was talking about Crowley and stuff. I just kept bombarding him with questions about like gay shit and orgies. And he was getting so pissed off at me. But he can't really deny it because that's like what Crowley was all about. Sodomy.
Yeah. On Wikipedia, Crowley, there was a quote or something in it. I don't know, but Crowley like had sex with his friend, and it was like he was like a maniac or something. Like he was sick in the head, and then to know that he was MI6 too, and like it's like what was happening, like the whole eon of Horus the Conquering Child. He was openly stating what the future would be, and because he says in it that according to Crowley, his eon of Horus the Conquering Child was that all children would be subject to all sexual acts, and that that's teaching
some sick shit.
Yeah, that's why Crowley is gross and messed up, and like, but they're teaching it all in the schools. That's why it has to do with parental rights and individual rights, of the parent, and that like, because there is none, and that's what that's why socialism and communism is so dangerous in democracy, because it's in those things the state owns your children. Billy wrote a book called It Takes a Village to Raise the Child, and that concept is about the government owning people's kids, and that so the government gets to decide what to do with them under democracy.
Well, you have so many teachers sleeping with kids too, like the whole like female teachers sleeping with young boys, that sort of thing. And then they just get a slap on the wrist. That seems like almost an agenda. I mean, it'd be hard to imagine how that would take place, but you see it so much nowadays. It's almost kind of like normalized. Like people just can't leave kids alone.
Well, I would bet money that these people getting slaps in the wrists are probably, if they're female, they're probably members of the Eastern Star or other orders, and that they're getting diplomatic immunity through their secret society membership, basically. That
Well,
that's
the
why.
whole transgender thing, like, I definitely have no problem with gay people or transgender people or anybody like that. Do what thou will, for sure. But the idea that you're taking control of children away from their parents, that's crazy. Like, telling them that, oh, if you take this pill, you can go from being a boy to a girl or a girl to a boy. That's not reality. You're telling a child a lie, and you're making them think that they can change their gender. And like I was telling to Jamie earlier, I don't really feel you can do that. At best, you will be like an in between sort of thing, and you'll have like like she was saying, you'll have a hole that was carved into your crotch, and it's just kind of festering and rotting down there. Or if you're a female, they chop the breasts off, and you just have like these scars there. I don't think that that's gonna make anybody happy. Look what happened to Chaz Bono. Like, he kind of went crazy from all his hormones and stuff.
Well, the Illuminati, they want to, they run through all these isms and such, and they want people to subscribe to the victim mentality, because if they can make the person believe they're a victim, then they can use that, and then they can manipulate the person by that belief. That's why when you join the occult, you join a secret society, they ask you, do you believe in a god? Because if you don't, you can't join, because they can't use that to recreate you through the initiations. And
Also, if you are somebody that's really knowledgeable in esoteric concepts, and you seem like you are higher minded in the way that you're kind of talking about, they'll also approach you. They'll like come up to you out of nowhere and basically ask you to join them.
yeah, it's definitely bizarre, because after I refused masonry, that cougar that I mentioned before, her mom was the head of the Eastern Star in Michigan, and it was weird because she found me. Like, she commented on my YouTube, and like it was very bizarre. She was like, financing my weed habit and like buying me all sorts of stuff, and it was like, is this chick like a paid prostitute who's it was all really weird. It was, it was just because I refused to join masonry, and it seemed like it was, I don't know, it was a weird coincidence.
Maybe some synchronicities going on, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's like Jordan Maxwell. Remember how he talks about Manly P. Hall, where he believed that Manly P. Hall's wife was a member of a secret society, and that she was given to Manly P. Hall by the secret societies to support him to further the research of the occult.
This is a good discussion, but I better continue with these news stories. So I already talked about California and that new bill where they don't have to notify the parents if a kid is talking about trans stuff. I don't really feel like I need to get into that again. But the other big news story, once again, God, that dog won't shut up. We're getting into the presidential space here, where Joe Biden is deteriorating, and it seems that they are going to replace him. That's judging by the news this morning. It seems that they're definitely going to do it. I wonder if this was the plot line all along. He's way too old to be running our country. They seem to almost make a spectacle or a show of this like public humiliation, having him go up there and spin around, fall off stage, shake nobody's hand, call Trump his vice president, and call Zelensky Putin. Just all kinds of things that are alarming the public. And I believe this is probably another problem reaction solution thing, a good way to get Kamala Harris in there, maybe AOC. I'm sure that'd make Dr. Robert cream in his pants. Or who knows? Who knows?
The symptoms of previous knowledge of what's going on is definitely an interesting concept, because all the mainstream reporters go to the Bilderberg meetings, and so they are told what's going to happen at these Bilderberg meetings, and then they are bound to secrecy, and that the media, the mainstream media, has been supporting Bo Jiden during his dementia, but yet all of a sudden they switch tables, and then all of a sudden the Republican thing is being seen on CNN when it never was the past years. It seems like the media is, that controlling the narrative, and that possibly, it's definitely, because it's like the X-Files, trust no one.
It reminds me of crypto, because if you pay attention, there's times when there's a bull run where the crypto is going up, where all the news and media is very pro crypto. It's like they're trying to get everybody to go out and buy it, right? And then when the market's falling and all the rich people are selling and they're pulling their money out, all of a sudden the media changes. It does a 180, and now, crypto's insecure, crypto is too volatile, don't buy crypto. You literally see the opposite being put out there in conjunction with what the big billionaire investors, they call them whales, are doing. And are they buying or are they selling? The media will literally change along with that. And I think it's exactly like what you're talking about, where, I mean, this is my opinion. I feel like they want Trump in for a second term based on what we're seeing in the media.
Yeah, it's every media major director or whatever is either trilateral or the something on foreign relations, CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, and that's why I always refer to them all as internationalists. The communists, the socialists, the Nazis, they're all internationalists, and that they're contracted through different organizations to do exactly what the really rich people or want to happen. It's all like it's like the rich were backed by the Illuminists, and the Illuminists controlled the rich through the Illuminist plan and the memberships, and that the rich are doing the bidding, and in so doing they are going along with a plan that will eventually take away their own wealth. But it's for basically the enslavement of humanity and the destruction of all religions, and that
just want to mention this comment real quick from Adaptable. Eminem's longtime manager and co-founder of Shady Records is Paul Rosenberg. Eminem was originally signed to Interscope by Jimmy Levine. Dr. Dre was owned by Jerry Helly, then later Jimmy Levine.
Interesting. Yeah, NWA was
connections there.
Oh yeah, but NWA was funded by the ADL, which was full of B'nai B'rith, and they were most likely Illuminati, and that that whole idea that Jamie was saying about culture creation. They're creating, like how me and Lee were talking about fake cool. They've got these things that are all fake cool, but like it's like, where's the real cool? The cool that's coming from some individual, not being created by a team of lawyers and producers. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
This engineered cool is just, and it's weird to see so many people follow stuff that's like fake cool, and it's like, man, it's like there's a lack of, it's like because right now there's so many musicians, and there should be producers with lines of bands just coming in and out all day, checking to see their talent of these bands, but that's not happening. It's all controlled bands and stuff, the metal scene and the mainstream, like I guarantee Taylor Swift was put there type of thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's some stuff that I've seen on Reddit that shows certain things happening that shouldn't have before her and Travis Kelce like even officially got together. Like there's some. I wish I would have put it together before talking about this, but there's some things that show some kind of evidence that the whole thing's basically a fake. It's all smoke and mirrors, some kind of weird psyop. Just the way that last Super Bowl played out when like at the end, like forget the rest of the team and the fans, like they just go to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and she's like jumping to his arms, like, "Oh, I love you so much," and all that. Like, oh god, that was so cringe.
Yeah, it's definitely like the following of it's really weird. How many people are, I wouldn't doubt if she was like a clone of Anton LaVey's wife or something, some kind of weird spooky shit. Based on how much
his daughter, Xena Shrek.
Oh yeah, well, some say his grandson. Some claim his grandson switched genders and turned into Taylor Swift. That's not me.
There's other stuff
it's
too.
Twitter.
Like some of her music videos, and there's that footage of her at a concert, and she's basically riding on top of a spinning black cube.
Huh. Interesting.
And she's
Which
not
way
the
was
only
it
one.
spinning?
I'd have to look that up, but she's not the only one. I mean, obviously there's Lady Gaga,
Oh yeah.
basically admits to being a Luciferian, goes on talk shows saying "Hell Lucifer" and stuff like that. Talks about being a shapeshifter, saying she can change her form, like she's some kind of werewolf or something like that, doing some kind of skinwalker shit behind closed doors.
Yeah.
There's a video of her. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What was that? That TV show she was on? It was the American Horror Story, that gruesome, disgusting show.
Yeah,
did you
and
see that?
I do want to see that
she
new
was on?
Joker movie. Max is talking about it. That looks. I like the first one. It looks like it's going to be pretty cool.
Oh yeah. The whole Joker concept. Remember in the cartoon how Joker was giving people drugs that would just make them into laughing dummies, basically.
Yeah, Joker. Yes.
And like how in the movie he was mixing there was stuff in the soap and stuff that was by itself, it didn't do anything, but then when it was combined it would do something and put the people under the Joker's spell, basically.
Yeah, he's kind of there's so much to that character. There's the nihilism, the absurdism, and then the whole idea of the clown, the trickster, or the guy that kind of loses his mind because society has become so uncaring. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating character. I think that there was a vote through some magazine, and he was voted as like the best villain of all time, along with Darth Vader.
Oh yeah, I've always wanted some metal playing cards that I could throw, like on that.
And Batman, man, that's a rabbit hole too, because there's a Batman who's wearing a bat suit, and then the city is Gotham City, like the Goths.
Yeah,
and he's called the Dark Knight. There's all kinds of Gnosticism there, and some kind of like hidden history stuff with those Goths.
Well, that one movie with Christian Bale when he goes into that prison, and it's 9 levels. It's like that's a symbolism of the nine
What
arches of Enoch.
That sounds interesting.
It's the one where he goes to China or whatever, and he has to climb out of that prison.
Oh, you're talking about the third Batman, the third Batman Begins movie.
Yeah, I think so. That one is
Bane.
No. What was that, Bane? Where he climbed out of in China or something?
Yeah,
I thought that was the first one.
That was the prison that Bane was in, and he threw Bruce Wayne down there because he for whatever psychotic reason he wanted him to go through the same thing.
Yeah, it was all really spooky symbolism to me, where the courts, like how the courts were being operated when Bane took the city over, that's how they're operated in real life. the symbolism though of it was all really reminiscent of Soviet Russia, and that the Illuminists were totally controlling that scene. Every provocateur of the Russian Bolshevik Revolution was everybody in the mainstream was the head of a Masonic lodge, and that it was a Masonic conspiracy to destroy Russia and France, and that it's scary because what was it? John Adams, he was pissed at he wrote a whole book about being against the blood oaths, and that their goal, their great work, it's to take over the world, and that and that's not the ancient Masonic great work, but it's the modern Illuminist Masonic great work, and they bear the red flag and the symbolism of Babylon, and it's definitely spooky.
I have another news story here.
Wait, what'd you say?
But we got another news story here. I want to bring this up because it's kind of weird. It's from the Gateway Pundit. Investment firm that allegedly put options on 12 million Trump stocks day before assassination attempt blames filing error. Rothschild, Blackgate, Vanguard, Meta, George Bush, and Cheney family among top investors. Austin Private Wealth LLC, a Texas-based financial planning company, is being scrutinized after a social media post went viral that claimed that they had put options on as many as 12 million shares of DJT shares just one day before the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. The investment firm denied the allegations and has now blamed a filing error on this controversial action. So they basically invested in Trump stocks right before the assassination attempt. Reminds me of some of that stuff going on around 9/11, where there was the gold was moved out of there. And
yeah,
what was the other thing?
Insurance
Something about insurance. How does that go? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, the what was it? The ring of power goes over it. So does damn, what's the name of that documentary? I can't remember the name of it, but it's Loose Change. Yeah, but the there was an insurance policy put on the buildings. There was stocks were sold for that airplane company that like 3 days before. There was certain people didn't show up for work that day, just like on Oklahoma City.
Let's not forget that NORAD was ordered to stand down.
Yeah, plus they were in the middle of a drill that was the exact same scenario of an airplane hitting a building, and that they were all brought back. That's why that one Cooper episode is so crazy, where he's like talking about this drill, because I always try to keep an eye on the drills, the military drills. And there was a drill in 1988 where there was a merger of the British and the American armies fighting against an imaginary foe, an imaginary nation, and the nation was called Corona, and it was really weird. Just a weird. I'm sure you absolutely know where I'm going with that one, which I'm not going to continue.
Reminds me of like the Fast and the Furious movie that came out like just before the whole, and they had a Corona beer poster in the background. Coincidence, maybe.
Oh yeah,
there's always shit like that. Just like The Boys. Like someone in the chat mentioned this. I noticed that too because I love that show. But the plot line of The Boys was a presidential assassination, and there's a lot of like parodying of the whole MAGA Trump movement in that show. Like it's a major focal point of the series, is to kind of like compare the main villain to like a Trump type of character. It's really weird. Like, why would they even be telling a story like that literally right before the actual assassination attempt happens?
A lot of those shows, I would turn the show on and then turn all the treble down and then turn all the bass all the way up. A lot of those movies and shows like that will have this underlying constant bass, like what was it? The Mission Impossibles, or is that the one? There's like this weird underlying bass in a lot of Tom Cruise movies, which I believe that's some kind of Scientology brainwashing possibly, but a lot of the mainstream stuff like Amazon, that boys movie, I wouldn't doubt that there's some sort of, because they use that base to like implant. It makes a person more subtly, idea implantable type of thing, where and then the whole idea of the trauma, back to the Archon rule book, the person's traumatized by the show, and then they're taught this rhetoric on the TV show, and then so they absorb it because they've just been traumatized. It's a process of initiation in a way. It's a it's weird.
Well, the real question is how are we gonna get Alex Jones to have a pizza party with us? Pizza and wine.
Oh yeah, pizza would be just like
he's getting drunk and he's starting to just like flip out. Gay frogs.
I'd like to have a word with him about the Cooper's subject, because
he'll be like, William Cooper, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Did you watch that video I sent you where he goes to that gun rally and those guys are like calling him COINTELPRO and he goes, "No, you're COINTELPRO."
Yeah. Well, I definitely respect his empire that he's created, but it's like Cooper says, if you say something that's not true, you can get sued, and that he did get sued. And Cooper was warning against Alex Jones saying stuff that he wasn't confirming. I've got this one Twitter follower that sends me nonstop stuff, and it's like, dude, did you confirm any of this? I'm not gonna sit here and confirm all of it. Can you verify it? Like, where's the source? What is, like, how do you know? Basically, you ask anybody that question when they're saying something, and 9 times out of 10 they won't have a source on how they know. And so that's a rumor, and they're spreading rumors on both sides of the fence, and they're creating all these people that are just full of rumors, left and right, and that it's making a fool out of everybody. And it's really despicable about how people are just nonstop. That's why I compare it to the alchemical meme, how it's a self-replicating thing. The person is replicating it by saying it to another person. And even more dangerous than AI is language and people who are repeating these ideas that the Illuminists have created to give to them for a tool to make them into a gear, basically, in the machine.
Yeah, it's basically, okay, you know how the Nazis, they were channeling those aliens, the alien race from a planet called Aldebaran, and they're supposed to be tall, blonde, humanoid looking aliens.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the.
Well, if you look at the story of Betty and Barney Hill, they describe the aliens they met as looking like Nazis. And they call these types of aliens Nordic aliens. There's a researcher named Stan Deo who's ex-military. He was like, he came on the show, and he's like really deep military, and he said that the aliens were the same thing. That's 3 different sources. There's many more, but tall, blonde, blue-eyed Nordic aliens. And I believe
there's
Travis Walton met them too.
Yeah, there's quite a few different species. If they are real, then there's definitely at least like 5 different types of, like the grays, the reptile kind, the Zebel Kanubi.
Yeah, I just find it really a coincidence that the idea of the Anunnaki, or there being giants in the past, and they're like these tall giant humans, and then we have people nowadays running into these so-called aliens. I really feel that this is the truth, the penultimate truth, whatever that means, that these Nordic beings, entities, whatever they are, they seem to be behind a lot of this stuff. There's even one supposedly in the U.S. government named, I think, Valiant Thor, who was kind of hanging out with some top military officials and something like that. And supposedly, there's these Nordic aliens hidden in certain places in the world, and there's some secret black budget groups that constantly try to go after them, capture them, and assassinate them and stuff like that. But if you look at the way that history is played out and the way that the Smithsonian tries to hide these giant bones and things like that, I really feel that's the truth in terms of who's kind of behind all this stuff. And I don't really feel that they're aliens either. I feel like they are a race that was here along with us since the beginning. They kind of ruled over us, and they might be the Nephilim or the Anunnaki or fallen angels. Who really knows? But they've definitely got to be real. There's just too much evidence out there.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something like that. On a similar note, the magician would make the magic circle, and bring about the Yod character, which was on par with Yoda from Star Wars, and this little green demon guy, and there's some weird stuff about that, and the occult practices where they're claiming, to get in touch with these entities, or some kind of travelers from another dimension, possibly. Or
you've been talking for a while about raising money to get me a katana. But I think what I really want is a lightsaber. Have you seen some of those newer ones? What's that, Gio?
Flamethrower.
I want a lightsaber. Like these new ones, these expensive ones, they're called NeoPixel lightsabers. They look just like real lightsabers. They're so bright. And when they clash against each other, they make like a flash. So it looks like the movies, the lightsabers are sparking against each other. I swear I would just run around late at night and just wave that thing around. Pretend to be a Jedi. Act like a total dork. Swing it at some of the fentanyl heads out there.
Oh, God. Yeah, sorry, I just kind of disappeared there, but like we're in the woods and all of a sudden we heard people's voices like off in the distance, and then my brother stepped on a nail, so we had to migrate back.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It kind of one of those moments like, oh shit.
Has he had a tetanus shot lately?
2 years ago, so that should be more than
okay. Ouch.
Probably some group of Satanists out there doing.
I told him not to walk around barefoot.
Whose artifact are you? What is?
Who's your maker?
Somebody's Well, it's interesting how I was talking about the artificers of fire and the artificers of water, and how the fire is the knowledge, but the water is the faith. And so the artificers of faith have initiates who believe in stuff, while the artificers of fire have initiates who know. And like there's a weird, and not that anyone is better than the other or anything, but there's a weird philosophy going on with that. And the old merger of it, that's what the goal of Freemasonry was, to re-merge the two things, the philosophy of fire, and bring it back, the philosophy of water, to bring back the two pillars, which were basically a symbolism of, the completion of Solomon's temple, or the universe.
Well, that's also what Christ said: one of us have to be born of both fire and water.
Well, the thing about these aliens, like, you almost kind of want to separate it from the world of magic and Illuminati and stuff like that. But really, the technology that these aliens use, it is shamanism or magic. And the reason they use this type of magic technology instead of nuts and bolts technology is because it's extremely low cost energy wise. You can get a lot more bang for your buck using magic. And this also allows them to hide themselves.
But if you're also a disembodied spirit, the only thing you can really do is manipulate people that are around through symbolism and such.
But that's the thing. These are, I'm saying they're tall Nordic aliens, right? But those aren't their real bodies. The bodies they show us are just projections. They're actually like fourth or fifth dimensional beings. They don't really have bodies.
Well, they could be shapeshifters.
Right.
Yeah,
shape-shifting spirits.
Like skinwalkers.
Or
Yeah,
Bigfoot.
like the Native American lore is all about shape-shifting spirits and trickery. I think that
Yeah.
shape-shifting spirits are definitely real.
like the 9 that Ralph Epperson talks about that you mentioned.
Oh,
I
the
believe
giants?
that those they're not really, well, they are, but they're not really like giants. What they are probably descendants of these Nordic aliens that rule the world just like they always have, because the kings were always
I have another take.
half god.
Yeah.
Consider this. If modern man and Neanderthal were to interbreed, more than likely the modern man being tall and the Neanderthal being extremely muscular would have created a sort of sterile ligrid hybrid of the two species. And the only reason we have Neanderthal DNA continuing within our lines is because the females of the species would have carried the genetics of any males that they mated with, and any offspring after that would still carry the seed of that.
Yeah, that's where Rh negative blood comes from, because these
Right.
Nordic aliens, they're a different species. They can't breed directly with humans. That's why the mother's Rh negative blood will reject a fetus if a non-Rh negative male tries to impregnate her. And that's why Rh negative blood people are watched so closely by Illuminati, etc., because they may have abilities of these so-called aliens, telepathy, telekinesis. There's a term fire starter. There's even a movie made about it. Yeah,
I remember when that came out.
Yeah, and
The original.
this term fire starter goes back to like ancient Ireland, where like certain girls with fiery red hair, they'd be able to stare at something and light it on fire.
No shit.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the bloodlines are definitely interesting, where the Grace Powers, the Ring of Power, she brings it. I'm pretty sure she brought it all the way back to Babylon. And that they're this Babylonian covenant, contract is something that's very strange, because the original racism that seems to all stem from this religion that is the 12 tribes of Israel, and that they're using that as a tool to manipulate the people, and that it's definitely a really vast subject.
Are you familiar with the one of the only real hardcore tangible pieces of evidence of alien life was the guy that he woke up, I think he was being abducted, and he was having sex with female aliens. They were kind of like taller and muscular than like a normal human, I believe. I have to reference the story, but anyways, he thought maybe it was him hallucinating, right? But he actually pulled one of their hairs out of his penis hole. He pulled one of their hairs out of his penis hole. It got stuck in there, and he turned it in, and they ran DNA tests on it, and it had a very weird DNA profile of some ancient people that used to live in the UK.
Extra chromosomes, I would assume.
I'm not sure exactly. You could probably look it up, but it gets overlooked in the field of ufology, and I only know it because I've been doing this for years and years and heard about just about everything.
Yeah,
but
you've seen the videos with the metal that they pull out of people that has weird properties.
Oh yeah, the ones where they try to like poke at it with a needle, and all of a sudden it like turns almost like liquid metal and shoots into a different part of the body.
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility that we're all being chipped by something.
Yeah, and then just like you're alluding to, what's the connection between alien implants and RFID chips, or the Jabberwocky?
Yeah.
What is the connection there? Why do they want us to be so accepting of these injections? Are they planning, or have they already put these little implant things, these little wormy implant things in people? That's pretty frightening when you think about it. We might have those in us. We don't even know.
Well, they've got stuff at a macro level now where we could have breathed it in. You know, when Bill Gates put all that stuff in the sky, you know, that could have been nanotech, and that I'm from a like tech I can't talk from a like tactician point of view type of thing. Like the fact that they have so much surveillance, you know, where to the point where they're using X-band radar and stuff, it's like I think they're looking for something. You know, I don't know what they're looking for, but I assume that they're looking for. They gotta be. There's no other way that they would have all this. It's gotta be. You know, because Cooper says the secret files on the ship stated that there was treaties between the UFOs and the Greys and the humans and stuff, and that they were allowed to abduct people from national parks. And Cooper didn't know if it was real or not, but he admits to seeing UFOs and underwater UFOs, and like I've seen them too, and they're very spooky. Like if you see a ghost, you know, it gives you this chills, like it's scary. And there could be a connection with you know, that would explain why the thing's moving so fast and the occupants aren't getting hurt, is that they're existing in like some kind of non-carbon based plane or something. They're like they're living in an energy field perhaps that's only visible to.
I think you have the right idea. What I heard was that Tesla he actually created a blueprint for a UFO, and like everything else, it was seized by the government when they went in his apartment, just ransacked it. You know, the earthquake machine, the this, the that, and the death ray. And what they did was they actually ended up building the UFO. And the way that it works is it has some kind of like spinning thing in there, and what that spinning thing does is it creates a field of static electricity. It's the same field like when you rub a balloon against your hair and then it like sticks to you, stuff like that. And that static field creates, kind of like you were alluding to once again, like a zero gravity field where there's no friction. It creates a frictionless bubble, and that's why the UFO can go zit, 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 and zip around without the person inside being hurt or the craft being damaged. And because there's no inertia, it can stop on a dime and switch directions and just, you know, go in any direction it wants at super speed, which is really scary.
Yeah, they've definitely got I think that's what they used to go to space in. If they did go to space, I'm assuming they did, but they're just not telling us. And there's a weird conspiracy with that, and also the occult side of NASA as well.
Yeah, Chad brings up Morgellons. I've seen pictures of people with Morgellons that, you know, they'll have those like hairs coming out of them, and there's other ones that look like there's like spider legs and little crab claws coming out of people. That's really fucked up, man.
I think there's parasites that people don't know that they have, and by ingesting or smoking marijuana, it kills parasites. Same with like using zinc shampoo or like, you know, certain teas and stuff.
Tea tree oil.
The doctors, yeah, that could definitely work. The doctors, I think, we're living in the dark ages of medicine. You know, because I've got a 2-year pharmacy degree, and you know, to know that pharmacy companies, like my friend, his girlfriend is a virologist, and I was asking her about how does she do her research, you know, if she can do independent research on certain plants. And she's like, oh no, I have to do she claimed she had to do exactly what, you know, the universities and the big corporations wanted her to do. There couldn't be anything outside of certain terms of the research, and so it's like they're keeping science from advancing in a weird way. It's like they're because there's all this monetary incentive, and there's no like private research going on. It's all heavily controlled by the government. And so it's very
interesting comment. Everyone should look into cybernetics and the founder of the CIA, Gregory Bateson's early work on it. They want to turn us into 100% controlled biocomputers, golems, essentially, that they have full power over. Yeah, there's another rabbit hole there. Cybernetics, the idea that they have created full-on humanoid synthetic humans, robots, kind of like you'd seen Star Wars, but they've been hiding the technology. And there's even pictures that come from like the so-called Tartaria, or those times at least, that seem to depict robotic humanoids, like old books that have pictures of robotic humanoids in them. I don't know what's going on there, if there's something to look at, or if it's more of this like P.T. Barnum hoax stuff. Really hard to tell sometimes.
Oh, yeah, like the golem concept, that could be a possible candidate of what you're talking about.
My canine friend is back.
He wants to be on the show.
Yeah, he does it. He just hangs out right under my window and just barks at me.
Yeah. What was it? That's funny how we got all that echo earlier. Now the dog. They're trying to stop us. No.
It's that dog is possessed by Lucifer.
Yeah, the UFO thing is weird with the because I've seen like every video on UFOs, and some of them, the crash evidence, if the evidence is real, it has like Enochian language on it, which I think is very bizarre. It could be, these could be like occultists creating Merkabahs or something, and like flying around in some kind of ancient ritual magic type. A lot of it goes back to ancient India, where there was claims of from a old, I don't from a Masonic standpoint, I've been taught to not trust anything and only see it as symbols. But for seeing a UFO, I can't say it's just a symbol. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what it is or anything.
We've also seen these Nordic aliens. People have seen them, and they have these little, like almost Star Wars insignia patch things on their chest, and they're of a symbol of a dragon. Like there's some kind of draconian imagery there. One guy was actually taken inside of a mountain, where a lot of these UFOs and stuff hide, and kind of got to see the base inside of there. And these so-called aliens explained a bunch of stuff to them. But there also seems like there's two factions of them. There's a good side that's trying to help people, and a bad side that's like fascist, and has these little like servants that are reptilians and greys and stuff like that. They kind of warn people about the bad ones. I don't know if that's true. I mean, it could be bullshit, hoaxes, etc. But this stuff all does seem to kind of connect. And I think where we lose it is we get too into this duality thing of, no, it's aliens, no, it's demons or fallen angels. I feel like it's both. Like, why does that have to be either or?
Yeah,
you're basically the same thing.
Have you ever seen the Dorothy Is-It thing, where she was like this old lady that was filming all these weird, really fast streaks that would be in the film, and like some of them were like what's that?
I think they're called rods.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But some of the pictures showed like this craft with windows, and they claimed you could see the people in it, and they were alluding to. It's a really weird. I think it's called Capturing the Light or something. I might have uploaded it to my YouTube or BitChute, but there's other. You can watch it free on other stuff. I'm pretty sure in a higher definition.
Kind of reminds me. This is a little bit off topic, but I saw a similar video to that, and there's like these bats flying around, and all of a sudden this other thing just like flies out of nowhere, and it swallows one of the bats and just flies off.
Huh.
Yes, I saw that. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, is it a bigger bat?
Yeah, I always watch the ghost videos, and there's a lot of weird anomalies that You know, you've seen that ghost video where it's got like some giant monkey thing that like jumps in a tree like 10 feet. That was pretty creepy.
I might have. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, because like even when the whole shadow person subject, it's like I've seen one, my girlfriend and her brother seen one separately, and then her mom came over the other day, and her mom admitted to also seeing the shadow person at that house that would peek around the corners, and it's like there does seem to be like there's a kind of like a modern misconception about Vikings where they think they had a set religion, but it was really more a bunch of superstitions about supernatural beings. You know, they believe there was stuff in the water and in the woods, and I definitely think there is stuff in the woods and in the water, and it's a weird subject, but the amount of people that go missing in the national parks, because it's just a weird thing.
Yeah.
It could be
It's all connected.
Yeah, it could definitely be some kind of it is weird how the people claim that there's because we know there's military dumb bases in the mountains, and there's also weird lore about the Phil Schneider incident, and if that's real, is there giant networks of bases with grays, if that type of thing, or it's a weird thing that seems to be also a theme with certain individuals who are like on certain types of medicine or something. They'll say, like, one of my friends claims that he sees a gray or grays, and it's his mom is like used to be a high up military person, and it makes you wonder if the military experiments on the children of their military people,
Well, I went to this little arcade, it's kind of a retro arcade, and they had one of those arcade machines where the punching bag comes down and you're supposed to punch it, and it shows like how hard you hit it, like you're trying to get the highest score. But I was thinking, instead of a punching bag, they should make that a gray alien face or head. You just like punch it as hard as you can. How satisfying would that be?
Oh yeah. What was it? I forget whose theory it was. I think it was the Martian, the Medicine Man's theory of that the Greys have a satanic hive mind. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
he could be onto something with that.
Yeah, no, he says a lot of things that are true, but he's kind of a little too into the MAGA stuff. Like he says, like Trump's already taken over and the military is in control, and
rumor
Trump's
repeater
running everything in the background. What's that?
He's another rumor repeater. Like both sides have their different versions of them.
Yeah, and he used to be way different. Like he was more of an occultist, and he'd talk about Lucifer and stuff like that. And then one day he just decided to become like this born again Christian. Now he just constantly talks about Jesus and God and how the whole world's going to hell, everybody's going to the lake of fire, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever, man. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. I don't actually like. I don't co-sign to any religion or any type of. I believe in a God that created the universe, but that's about it. You know what I mean? Like, because I do study biblical stuff because I do believe there's some kind of legend or mystery there that's not being correctly interpreted.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Bible is full of symbology, and I've said this a lot of times, but if you do study esoteric topics and the occult and history and paganism, it's actually going to almost give you like these decoder glasses where you can see the monuments in your city or a Masonic temple or things in the Bible, etc., and you'll be able to understand them a little bit better and see how they're connected. But that being said, there's still so much mystery out there. I feel like a lot of times I'm grasping at stuff, especially like things with the Masons and stuff like that, where I'm just, I'm not sure. I just have a vague outline or an idea, but a lot of this stuff is just still so weird to me. I don't even know what to make heads or tails of.
Oh yeah. Well, for the end of the days theme, I think the four horsemen were the four constellations. That it was a date and time. Centaurus, Pegasus, Monoceros, which is the unicorn, and then I always forget the other one, but Sagittarius, the archer, and that it's really similar to the Mayan clock or whatever, where it claims in 2012 that something's going to happen, where I believe when those four constellations are somehow in the sky at some perfect point or in a row or something, that that it's gonna that'll be the time when the occult, the end of days will happen, basically, according to that belief system.
I had a weird dream a long time ago where I was looking up, and above me were these people that were like standing on the ceiling, and they were like, from their perspective, they'd be looking up at me, and they were all these like Nordic looking aliens, and some of them, and they're wearing this like fancy armor that looked like it'd be from Lord of the Rings or something. Like it looked like some kind of maybe something from a science fiction movie. And then there was also these cat face people too that looked like lions or tigers or something like that. I think you'd call them I can't remember right now, but there's a actual race. I think they're called the Lyrians. But
yeah, I've heard about there used to be a book, the Encyclopedia of Extraterrestrials or something, that had all the different species that were in all the lore.
The zodiacal signs, all of them refer to one of these gods or Nordic aliens that wear this like weird space armor stuff, and they're the ones that are keeping us in the state that we're in. You call it Matrix or the reincarnation cycle or the Earth or whatever, but somehow they don't want us to reach the next level, like what Christ was talking about, like when he says to go to the kingdom of heaven or step through the door. They want to keep us keep us in our like shortened lifespans, toxic environment, disease, deteriorated genetics, all the stuff that these so-called Illuminati elites are pushing on us. It's all serving the purpose of these false gods.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like in comic book terms, they're like the Titans.
Yeah, exactly.
Great rulers.
Titans.
Yeah, and they're running the show. Yeah, he was one of the Titans. I forget the rest of them.
Eros is his brother.
Oh yeah, that's a Greek word for a certain character, Eros, and the Escatron. I always mispronounce it. Eros and the Escatron. I'm pretty sure.
But hey, it's 3:33. Good Masonic number to stop the show on, especially because we did not do the down the rabbit hole with Dr. Robert this time, so we're pretty much on time. So Clint, go ahead and say your goodbyes.
Third World Assassin. Join me on Twitter and YouTube, and I'll cut it short so then we can stop on 3:33. All right, peace.
You doing a show later?
Maybe. You want to come on or?
Maybe. I'm pretty tired today. I got a lot going on. I can tell you about that later.
We just missed the 3:33 mark, but all right. Peace out. Yeah, add me on Twitter, Third World Assassin, one word, and then at Feed the Gods, and then because there are like 10 10 or 20 other Twitters that stole my name because they think I'm like rich or something. I don't know what they think. They're retarded, but yeah. And then the YouTube, check out the live streams. Yeah, most of my regular videos are Cooper uploads, but there's also 3 or 4 documentary type slideshows that I did that are, I kind of coughed a lot because I was sick when I was making them. I need to redo them, but like there's some pretty good live streams. Geo comes on, Dan comes on, of course, and Todd comes out, a number of other people. But yeah, that's about it. Also, if anybody wants to buy or commission a painting, I'm trying to buy and sell paintings right now, so you can paint anything you want basically, but and ship it to you and whatnot. But like, yeah, that's about it.
All right, Clint, thanks for helping me co-host today, and I will talk to you later.
Oh yeah, peace.
All right. Not a whole lot to go through. I do want to do the mind-blowing moment of the day real quick. I'm not going to blow my harmonica right now because I don't want to attract that dog again. That thing drives me nuts. I think the George Washington painting where he's doing that whole Baphomet pose that and it has Zeus in it and everything. I'm gonna have to look more into that. That's my personal mind blowing moment of the day. A special thanks to Jamie. Boy, wasn't she pleasant? Just a lot of fun talking to her. Always fun getting to know people in the greater world of truth and conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. Just really delightful person. Very very humble. Found out she's Rh negative, which might have a lot to do with why she's interested in these type of topics. So definitely enjoyed her. I would love to have her on again in the future. Sports real quick. I'm going to run through this stuff real quick. So Teoscar Hernandez won the home run derby, which hurt quite a bit because, as you guys know, I'm a Mariners fan, and he was actually on our team last year. We had very little representation this year, and seeing him win the home run derby was a definite kick in the nuts. Really wish we would have held on to him. But congratulations to Teo. The world of pro wrestling, SummerSlam season is coming up. They're hyping a lot of good angles. Especially love the Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley angle. Just hilarious. Week in, week out. I just always look forward to seeing the Judgment Day and all that drama playing out. Also, pickleball seems to be getting huge. Pickleball is massively popular or becoming massively popular. I'm not sure why. I don't know why people just don't play tennis, but maybe pickleball is a little bit more accessible. It's not quite so cardio heavy. I don't really know. I think I played it in junior high or high school, but didn't really understand the rules or anything to do with it. I think we were using our hands, like we were slapping the ball with our hands. I don't even know if we had the little pickleball paddles or whatever they call them. And that's pretty much all I got. Great show. Very entertaining, very enlightening. Thanks to everybody that popped in and showed up. They will probably miss the playoffs by one game like usual. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Nothing like a good kick in the nuts, right? Has a lot to do with ownership and willingness to spend a lot of money. I think that the farm system is excellent. The pitching is excellent, but we just really need some more bats. I'd really love to see the Mariners finally win a World Series. All-Star game was a lot of fun. We got to see Ohtani hit that big first home run. Paul Skeens. I haven't really seen him a lot. I heard about him, but God, that guy's a beast. Throwing some heat. My God, I love pitching. I think it's just the best. A lot of people hate it. I love it. And there's a Mariners game on right now, so I'm going to retire from doing this show today. I'm definitely going to be back next week and subsequent weeks, but I'm going to go watch the game. I thank you guys for joining me. sad that Dr. Robert wasn't able to join us. Feels very, I feel like there's a empty chair at the table today, but it's okay. He will be back next week, along with many, many others of our cast of friends, our family here at End of Days Radio. I love you guys. You are the wind beneath my wings. This is Daniel signing out from those decaying, crumbling, broken ruins here in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. Signing out. I will see you next week and every week. Good night and goodbye. Hit that outro. And don't forget to donate